The following program is a collection of stooges talking about happenings in the sports world. It is meant to be comedic informative. The opinions expressed on this show do not necessarily reflect the beliefs of their peers, their boss, or ESPN. There may be some cuss words because that's how humans in the real world talk. If you are young, please seek permission before watching any further.
Hey,
Why?
let's go!
This show stinks, and the fact that you listen, we are very, very thankful for.
McAfee on the line with a gorgeous assist.
The all-time leading tackler for the Green Bay Packers.
You pink!
Damn it! Be a friend, tell a friend something nice could change their life. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to our humble abode, the Thunderdome, on this big program Thursday, April 17th, 2025. This sports program starts now. Sports are happening all around us, and yes, your eyes were not deceiving you. The Toxic Table is here at Boston Connor and at Ty Schmidt. And obviously, we're juiced up to get to Las Vegas for WrestleMania weekend. We cannot wait to hit the road and hit the skies to get out to Sin City. And yes, one half of the Hammer, Dahn, Cowboys, AP Tone is here with a ball cap on. And yes, what you saw at the end of this desk right here is he who is a college football national champion, a Super Bowl champion, a Ryder Cup winner, a father of 10, a onesie wearer. Ladies and gentlemen, AJ Hawk. Holy shit. AJ Hawk. AJ Hawk. AJ Hawk. AJ Hawk. Great to see you, brother.
It's great to be here in D-Butt's seat. I feel like I had to wear a onesie to kind of represent. He told me yesterday, hey, make sure you represent and wear a onesie and look good, so I'm trying that for D-Butt.
You do look super cool. How about at Big Night Out in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania? There was a lot of boos of the state of Ohio. You were former president of Ohio. AJ Hawk chant radiating through that entire building. Had to feel pretty good to get that love from the people of Pittsburgh.
Yeah, the people were awesome. I met tons and tons of Pittsburgh people and people from all around the country, I would say, and they were all very nice, very, very good people. Ty, Conman, we saw a bunch of them in the tunnel when we were coming down from the suite, actually going to backstage, and they were juiced.
Yeah, it was. I feel like we've built a pretty cool little community.
Yeah.
And we have you to thank for a lot of it. You've been a great partner of ours, and this is one of the first times I get to be in studio with you.
I know.
Every time you're in studio, I'm not here. The boys obviously share these wonderful fairy tales of getting to hang out with a legend that is AJ Hawk, and I very rarely get to do that. So it is awesome to be here. It's a big day for the program today.
Huge day.
NBA Commissioner Adam Silver will join us in about 13 minutes or so. The second batch of play-in games happened last night. 9 versus 10 on both sides. Winner gets an opportunity to play against the losers that happened the night before in the 7 versus 8. I'm going to tell Adam Silver that I think they should have been playing on the same night.
Yep.
7-8, 7-8, 9-10, 9-10 should have been playing on the same night. Because last night, a little bit of a waste of time, Conman.
Yeah, huge waste of time. The Heat played the Bulls first, and it was a blowout. I believe it was like 71-45 at halftime. Tyler Hero started the game 8-8. He was absolutely balling, but it was terrible. It was bad ball, start to finish. There wasn't any cool, like Orlando Magic-esque people in the crowd. It was more so just people there to watch the game. Caleb Williams signed a football and threw it up into the stands. But
hawked that thing.
Yeah, he just looks so freaking pissed because we know how much he loves to win, and the Bulls losing was clearly getting to him. I felt bad for him in that time, but no, it was a blowout. Now the Heat will go and play the losing Hawks in Atlanta on Friday, I believe.
And now the second game. Needs to be talked about.
Yeah, okay.
Because on the same day that Nico Collins, and I don't know this Mr. McMahon who works for ESPN, he wrote a book. I believe he covers the Mavericks down there in Dallas for ESPN. Tim McMahon, I think is his name. He wrote a book on Luka's greatness. It's actually the header of this. Now he's covering the Mavericks. So he has a lot of questions for Nico about what Nico's doing.
Sure.
And all Nico said was, I think defense wins championships. That's what I think. That's what I think. Then I turned on the game against Sacramento, in Sacramento, and there was like 2 consecutive possessions where shot clock just ran out and Sacramento didn't even get a shot off. And then there was time they couldn't get the ball in. And it was like, okay, this Dallas Mavericks team is potentially going to be like, hey, we're locking it down. Sacramento was never really in this game. It was a blowout basically since I turned it on like mid-second quarter going forward there. And I'll tell you what, Dallas Mavericks going to run here, that would be quite a how you doing, keep it moving from Nico Collins and the Dallas Mavericks. Rich Paul kind of alluded to it earlier because he he reps Anthony Davis, and obviously this trade, Anthony Davis is just getting dunked on by everybody.
Killed.
Getting absolutely murdered. And Rich Paul goes, they're going to have to figure out how to win down there. Obviously, they got to get healthy. They're not healthy. When they get healthy, they're this, they're this, they're this. And it's like, it feels like they are taking a lot of pride in being smacking the wood on the defensive side. And that's from Nico, and I assume it's radiating through the rest of the team. I'm not saying they're going to win this entire thing, but them getting a win last night, huge. I would assume for that Dallas Mavericks locker room, front office, coaching staff, you name it.
Well, and it kind of changes the entire thing, too, because then after last night, you think about what this team would be with.
Sorry, Nico Harrison.
Nico Harrison,
Nico Collins.
Great player.
Great player.
One of the best wide receivers in the league. Love Nico.
Mission football.
But also, and seriously, though, it does kind of change your perception. Like, okay, if that team is the team that they were last night, and then you were to add Kyrie Irving, the way Klay Thompson played, the way AD played, of course, AD talking shit to the fans after. I mean, it was kind of like all right, everyone settled down a little bit. Anthony Davis is still unbelievable at basketball. They do have some sort of plan. I know the closed door meeting, Shams is reporting that everyone was pissed about that the Mavericks did with Nico was not what Nico wanted to do. That was an ownership thing.
Nico's like, you think I want to talk to any of these people more? No. I don't want it on the record, off the record. That Tim McMahon guy was really putting it to him. And all Nico just kept saying is, you don't think we're going to be able to win like this? I think defense wins championships. And as somebody who said, to hell with Nico. Okay, this guy somehow convinced people that he was more important than Luka. I said that. I'm actually pulling for Dallas not to do well because I want Nico to kind of have to sit in losses because, once again, Luka led this team to the finals a year ago, and this guy is somehow convincing people alongside a nutritionist that they are more important to the Mavericks than Luka is to the Mavericks in the long run. I don't like that. I hate that. But I also, after watching them against Sacramento last night, I was like, okay, they have a plan. This is who they want to be, and they were. I mean, they were.
Yeah.
We are. We are locking people down. And it's like, can that win in the NBA? Probably going to need another piece offensively. Are you going to be able to win in the Western Conference this year? Probably not with how deep it is. But you could see, like, that's his plan, and he was very, very steadfast with it whenever he spoke with the press since then.
And sweet for AD. Like, I feel like after Kyrie blew out, he got that injury. I forget if it was a knee or Achilles. ACL, yeah. It could have been, that's when AD was already hurt. It could have been like, okay, Anthony Davis is just going to shut it down. I don't need to play. Who cares? Everyone's already killing me. But for him to still kind of go out there and ball, and then the Kings also fired their GM after the Kings, who were terrible forever, finally got better. And then they say, you know what? This guy sucks. Let's get the hell out of here. I think it was they've won like 3 seasons in a row that they won 40-plus games or something along those lines. Yeah, here it is. And they hadn't done that since 2005, 2006. Pretty brutal.
Yeah, you can see which way Shams leading towards the news whenever he gets it, because you go back to that first tweet that he put out. At the very end, he goes, Sacramento won 48-34 and snapped a record 16-year drought to make the playoffs. Let's get that guy out of here. Almost feels like what the Lions did with Jim Caldwell. You remember?
Yeah.
You're winning, but not enough. We need more. We need more. We need more. I was in that Sacramento building. Beautiful arena, beautiful town, wonderful people. I'd assume that the Sacramento Kings fans would like to continue to have success. Maybe they'll just be a part of the turnover that's happening around the NBA. But congrats to Dallas. Congrats to the Heat. Good luck getting in now. Everybody's fighting for the number 8 overall seed on Friday. Heat, Hawks, Mavs, Grizz. Will Ja Morant throw grenades all over the place? Will Trae Young do his thing?
Throw balls at refs?
That was funny. It was very
sweet.
Can't wait to talk to Adam Silver in about 8 minutes. And then in the next hour, about an hour from right now, we'll be talking to 4-time NFL MVP, man who's currently a free agent, a man who has been contemplating a lot, open to everything, attached to nothing. Aaron Rodgers will be joining us in 1 hour. Cannot wait to chit-chat with him. AJ Hawk also here in studio in the Thunderdome for this particular conversation. There's a lot to kind of go over with Aaron. There's a lot to kind of hopefully clarify with Aaron. AJ, I know you've been in constant contact with Aaron Rodgers throughout this entire process while the world has kind of debated and contemplated and maybe made up storylines and things. Maybe they're true, maybe they're not true. What do you think we're going to hear from Aaron today? And how excited are you to see how he handles this? I'm pretty pumped up to see how he handles. I'm very excited to see how this goes an hour from now.
I am pumped to see how I guess just with everything that's been going on, like I've told you many times, like I've felt like something should have happened by now. I assumed he would be signed with the team at this point. So yeah, I can't wait to hear what his perspective is, where he sees moving forward. I guess where his health is, and I don't know. Like we haven't heard anything. When's the last public statements Aaron has had?
We got a text. What was that? 2 months ago? Like, hey, maybe I'll come on next week.
Oh, yeah.
Short in the near future, or I'll be on shortly.
Shortly or something like that. And then I don't think we've heard anything. We've seen him walking the beach at sunset.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really the football camp.
Flag football. We've seen him flag football, which he looked good, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Love that he's not taking dropbacks either. Just, hey, I'm going to stay at the line of scrimmage, short throws, whatever we need. Let's get this thing in there. Does it every single year to raise money. He has won Philanthropist of the Year in California since last time we've talked to him. And then obviously the throwing at DK at UCLA has taken place since then. He has visited with the Steelers, which has been reported by numerous people. So was he with the Vikings?
Yeah.
Giants? Steelers? Saints conversation?
Yeah, like how close was he to anything?
That's what I'm saying. Like there's a lot to ask.
Or is he?
I don't know.
What's that, Toad? What are you saying?
Well, you said was like in the past tense.
I mean, over these last 2 months, was he ever close? Like, were they ever even talking contract with any of these teams?
Yeah, and to your point about you thought that something would have been decided by now, us too, I think. So, why? I'm excited to hear why have we not really gotten an answer?
Florio reported that he was looking for $85 million a year, which was a lot. We thought, but
that seems
that is not what Florio.
I don't think it's that.
That is not what Pro Football Talks. Mike Florio, Paisan legend, who's been covering the NFL for a long time. But there has been a lot of hypothesizing about what Aaron Rodgers is thinking or doing for next season. Hopefully we'll get some clarity on it all today. What do you think we learned today, AJ?
Well, do people really think money was an issue, or money was a problem? Okay,
at one point,
they're not giving me
some people do.
No, I'm going to hold out until I get what 2 years, $105 million or something.
At one point, that was a part of the conversation. Like the money could potentially be scaring some people away, and then it was reported that there's already a contract in place at certain places, and then there's the Giants offered $90 or $100 million for Matthew Stafford. Did they offer something? There's just so many things that have been just said about Aaron as if it's been fact.
Yeah.
And we have been very lucky to be alongside the Aaron Rodgers experience for the last few years. There's a lot of things that are just said about Aaron that I think Aaron would disagree with wholeheartedly, even though it is very much about him. So I'll be pumped to hear how he comes in. What's his angle, Ty Schmidt, and also what his thoughts are on everything.
Yeah, and I'm most excited because I don't think we're gonna necessarily get a definitive answer today. Like, hey, I'm doing so and so next year. But I think the longer this went on and we didn't hear anything, and it's still a possibility, I guess. But the reality started setting in. Maybe he is going to retire. And as a massive Packers fan and Aaron Rodgers fan, I still think he has more left in the tank, especially the way he played down the stretch last season. I want to see him play football again now. So maybe we're going to get, at least a little inkling as to what he wants to do next year. Again, I don't think he's going to come on and definitively say, hey, I'm going and playing here or I'm going to retire. But maybe we will.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't think we should bring up retirement at all, okay, on this program. I don't think we should try to talk it.
I think we kind of were the only ones that were bringing it up there for a while.
Yeah, but I don't think he
Why,
should
you think we might push him over the edge and push him into retirement?
Well, maybe. And we don't. We want to see him play ball.
The only thing
6
pushing
feet from retirement, he's thinking. That's what you're saying? We don't want to be the one?
6 feet ain't so far down.
That's what you're saying. We don't need to be the ones that are promoting the 2 yards.
We want to see him play ball.
The mother of ayahuasca pushes him, brother. Don't worry about us. Don't worry
also,
about us.
has there been any of those?
Yeah, a chance.
I mean, there's a lot to catch up on. But, I'm sure everybody will listen and say, yeah, that's the truth.
Cooler,
we agree
cooler
with him.
heads
We agree with
always
everything he
prevail.
said.
No matter what Aaron says here, I'm sure the people who have been pushing narratives or whatever will certainly say, yeah, maybe we weren't right. That
Has anything been
happens.
going on around the world that he's gonna, sometimes he pops up with random things
got a
that
couple
aren't really football questions, answers. I wonder if he has anything on his mind.
I'm sure there'll be something he and Connor will share some laughs about.
Kinda have to.
This hour is presented by Ram Trucks and powered by the new 2025 Ram 1500. All the power you need, the luxury you want, and the capability you deserve. Shout out to Ram. Finally got the 2500 heavy-duty Rebel Ram over to Weston Arthur from Mount Union. That was a wild experience. We won't be doing that again. We're not doing that again. Just what I've learned from cars, if you've ever purchased a car, all the paperwork that you sign is immense. I assume there's a lot of lawsuits, there's a lot of things, there's a lot of, I don't know why it is the way it is. Buying a car is a terrible experience. It is a terrible, terrible experience. Now, whenever there's 3 different states involved and a truck that's potentially not even, I guess, classified to anybody because it came right off the thing right to us as a showcase thing. So it has been a tough experience getting the Ram truck, but I will say the Ram people have been on top of it. Mm-hmm. We are very, very thankful for the Ram truck people. Just, I guess there's a lot of laws. Like on Sundays, you're not allowed to do anything with cars in Indiana. You know, it's like,
really?
You're not allowed to sell or buy a car on Sundays. So there's been some things that have happened there's been some, it has been
Thank you,
a
Lord.
lot, dude.
That's Lord's Day.
And shout out to the Ram Trucks people for being as helpful as they have. We hope Weston enjoys the truck. Seems like they're very grateful for it over there. And that has been really cool to kind of be a part of. But yeah, we will not be doing all that again. So the last Ram truck giveaway that we did was last year. Congrats to Mount Boom.
Yeah.
And Mount Union. Congrats to them. We won't be doing that again.
It was fun until it wasn't.
So many.
A lot of red tape.
Mike Foss has spent, and he went back and looked, I guess a total of 26 hours on the phone with different DMVs in states and license, like all the things that he has had to go through. So shout out to Fosso getting this done. Once again, thank you to the Arthur family for being very grateful for it all. Mm-hmm. And what an incredible play by Weston there at Mount Boom. And it was an honor to spotlight your play at Mount Union. And thankful that this thing is, we're about 2 feet from the, we're in the red zone on this, but the Ram trucks are a wonderful truck. And we're thankful that Ram is a part of our team. Speaking of a part of our team, AJ, Nico Iamaleava has joined a new team. He's going to be going back to Southern California and playing for UCLA. Oh. Congratulations. You know, we didn't know how this was going to work because there was a lot of people saying that maybe the reputational damage or maybe the drama was going to maybe hold him away from a lot of different schools. You know, Tulane was being talked about at one point. A lot of people were like, Nico Iamaleava is going to play for Tulane. No offense to Tulane, but you understand how this whole thing goes. Then we were hypothesizing yesterday, maybe he goes back to Tennessee. Maybe they go shake hands and say, hey, we made a mistake here. Mm-hmm. We had a miscalculation. We had a misread. We're all very new to this situation. There's not a lot of rules, not a lot of guidelines. This was inevitable. We just happened to be the first big name to do it, yada, yada, yada. And they go back to Tennessee because Tennessee also doesn't have a quarterback. Instead, what Colin Cowherd reported yesterday, obviously he's based out of Los Angeles, is that he's hearing that Nico's going back to UCLA. And then other people confirmed the report that he's going back to UCLA, back home to Southern California, for less money than what he would have made at Tennessee is what's being said, but at least he's closer to home, and he's in the Big Ten.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, local kid, maybe he's able to do with UCLA what Shador, Travis were able to do both at Jackson State and at Colorado. Maybe he's able to bring some buzz. Maybe he's able to bring a little bit of juice, and maybe he's able to continue his career and his growth so that we can see him in the football world for a long time at UCLA. We're happy you found a home. That's all I would like to say. Now, could West Virginia got in? Yeah,
maybe.
We got quarterbacks. We got guys. I don't even tell you about Scotty Fox. Okay, Kid out of Ohio. You know who this kid is?
I know of him. Yeah, of course.
Got long hair. I guess they call him Sunshine.
He might be the next dude.
He's supposed to be in high school. He was at West Virginia. He's one of the first guys that would go to West Virginia, like skip the spring semester.
Not reclassified, but graduate early.
Graduate early. Yeah. And they said the boys gravitate to old Scotty Fox. They say he's a guy. We got Nico Paisano.
The real Nico.
Over there. A lot of Nico talk today. A lot of Nico. Nico Collins, Nico Harrison, Nico Iamaleava, Nico Paisano. There's a lot of Nicos out there. Great name, by the way. Nico is a great name. And then obviously the transfer from Texas A&M quarterback. We got a lot of good quarterbacks in West Virginia. So whenever I said yesterday we'd love to have Nico there, that wasn't because I thought anybody was bad. But I like that Nico has a home. And he's in the Big Ten, so he's still going to be playing big-time football. A lot of travel for him, but he's back in Southern California. What are your thoughts on how it all turned out, AJ?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad. We watched him firsthand against Ohio State. The guy's tough as nails, so I have a ton of respect for how he plays. And we know how good he is. This guy can be an unbelievable quarterback. I think he's just scratching the surface on what he's going to be. But, yeah, going back home, UCLA, if he can bring them, I don't know if you're going to say bring them back to the glory days, but bring them, bring some juice to UCLA.
Relevancy.
Yeah, some more relevancy and some more people. We know it's a big old stadium they play in, and they're trying to fill up every single time they play. So I think it works out for him. I'm glad he got somewhere so quick. Was this all along What's the whole no contact thing that these guys enter the portal?
I don't know. And who knows if that's real?
Yeah.
Who knows what's real and what isn't real? We don't know. But he's going to have to go to Iowa at some point, over the next couple of years. And, the Hawkeyes going to be able to handle Nico Iamaleava coming into the Big Ten? I don't know. We shall see.
Yeah, it's interesting because UCLA, they're not exactly, powerhouse when it comes to football. Everybody knows that. But the weird thing that I like.
Girls soccer.
Softball. They got a great softball team. Their basketball team is solid. Their women's basketball team is solid. So they've been a great addition to the Big Ten, no question. But a lot of the talk around it was that money was part of it, but it was Tennessee's offense. I don't know if that just got squeezed in there. And UCLA has a first-time OC, so I don't know if it kind of seems like, because I agree. I'm glad that this is over and done with, and he found a spot, and he doesn't have to go the next 3 weeks with getting his name dragged through the mud. But it seems like they did kind of just maybe realize oh wow, this is going to get very bad very quickly. Let's see if UCLA is interested. And UCLA, obviously, you get a guy like this. There's a chance that they could contend in the Big Ten. I don't know if they're going to win the Big Ten next year, but this certainly doesn't hurt them. Like I mentioned yesterday, 99% of teams in college football, I think, would look at their current quarterback situation and say we'd take Nico Iamaleava.
Big Ten stuff.
Yes.
Tough.
You got a lot of big-time players in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Oregon, obviously, on the West Coast in the Big Ten. People forget about that, I still think. And they are the ones that win. Penn State is Ohio State, Michigan.
Iowa. SC is in UCLA's backyard. They're in the Big Ten.
Yeah, so it's going to be tough to just win the Big Ten.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough to even be great in the Big Ten. But UCLA was a complete afterthought. And now, I think Nico brings them some relevancy. And I'm happy all parties have kind of, to your point, we move on. Now, moving on, let's talk about the NBA. Ladies and gentlemen, the association is in the middle of its biggest time. The play-in games have begun. The playoffs officially start on Saturday, and all eyes are going to be on the NBA. Well, who would know the league better than the guy who's the commissioner of it? Duke grad, ladies and gentlemen, friend of the program, commissioner of the NBA, Adam Silver.
Hey, Commish.
How you doing, Commish?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Dude, thank you for joining us. We are obviously a massive fan of yours. The fact that you ever take time to chit-chat with us makes us feel smarter and more prestigious, I think.
Without doubt.
More distinguished, I believe.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of words that we could say that you make us better, but we're very grateful that you take your time, Commish.
Well, I wore my tie and jacket, so thank you.
That's what I'm talking about. See, we need that. That's the type of shit we need, Commish. Okay, let's talk about it. Play-in games happen. The excitement's starting to build about playoff time. You guys as a league understand that the playoffs are the most important time for your league and understand that this is where the massive piece of your ratings and entrance and relevance is going to rely. What is the mindset of the league going into the playoffs? So basically all your stars still in play, Commish.
Well, mindset, as you said, is best time of the year for basketball. And I think it builds not just from our regular season, but I'm a big college basketball fan. You mentioned I went to Duke. Builds into March Madness and then into the NBA playoffs. And I think the play-in has worked well. We got 2 number 10 seeds playing tomorrow night. And I think that's kept a group of teams competitive that might otherwise have thrown in the towel earlier into the season. And to see Dallas still competitive, to see Miami still competitive. So, we got those 2 playing games left tomorrow night, and then the playoffs start Saturday. In fact, I'll be out in Indianapolis to see Milwaukee Indy on Saturday afternoon.
Okay, well, we can't wait to have you in our city. We will not be here. We'll be at WrestleMania in Las Vegas, but the city's pumped you're coming. There's a parade. I think there's a parade. If you want to talk to those refs, about the hands on Tyrese Halliburton. Let's talk about the season as a whole and the state of the NBA. Obviously, you signed a brand new broadcasting deal. Congratulations. Some people are calling it greatest deal that they've ever seen negotiated and get done. So, way to go. ESPN obviously benefiting from it. Other partners as well. Then the report comes out that the ratings were down 2% this year versus last year. I've always been a proponent of the fact that the NBA runs digital, runs social. Whenever the NBA is happening, it takes over X, it takes over everything, and that's a massive piece of your younger demographic. But to the ratings component from this season only, do you think there's been 2 different leagues or seasons for you guys? Pre-All-Star game, post-All-Star game. I think post-All-Star game everything up, right? Do you agree with that sentiment? And
yeah, Pat, it's a great way to put it, because you remember the narrative early in the season was that the ratings were down. In fact, they were down. There was a competitive World Series of presidential elections. There were a bunch of factors, I think, that led to our ratings being down early on. But in order to end up down 2% or relatively flat for the season, which is a victory these days, especially with declining television viewership from traditional television, that's a victory. And the reason that happened is, just as you said, essentially post All-Star, the ratings picked up a lot. In fact, to end up just down 2% for the season from where we came from, the ratings had to be up significantly. And I think you saw, tremendous competition around the league, teams playing, for playoff seedings, teams playing to get into the playoffs, healthy stars, a trade that attracted a lot of attention. A bunch of things happened in the league that generated a lot of interest. But to your point about digital media, I've said this to you before, to take a page from you, people are either watching this right now on ESPN or on YouTube. And I think you have a bigger audience on YouTube than you do on ESPN. And again, we're in those new television deals we did, not only do we have a huge digital presence in terms of social media and highlights and everything else, but every national game will be streamed in our new television deal. So as fans, particularly young fans, migrate away from traditional television or legacy television and are increasingly just watching things on their phone, on their iPads, just consuming things through streaming media. That's where we'll be next year. And so, it also, I think, in the same way that you're sort of reinventing sports television in a way, in the way you present yourself and your crew when you do games, it's going to open up all kinds of new opportunities. I mean, traditional television, it's been great for professional sports, really for all of sports, but when you move to digital, it creates all kinds of new opportunities to personalize the feeds, to add merchandising and gaming and new angles, new audio feeds, sort of that Manning cast idea, but sort of on steroids, where you can have sort of unlimited ways to access games. So I think we're about, you're at the beginning of what I think we're going to see, a huge sea change in the way sports are presented through media.
I appreciate you saying that. That is very, very kind of you to kind of acknowledge. But we started digitally, then we add the linear component. So we've had to kind of watch others. There's plenty of digital companies that have created avenues for content and ways to do things. But the fact that you, Suit, literally, and guy who's been around league long time, have the vision for what the next iteration of this whole thing is the reason why we have so much respect for you. So you need to know that that's not easy, too, because I know that you're dealing with a lot of people that I don't want to say have made a lot of money doing something one particular way, but we've had to deal with that. A lot of people have done something the same way, and then we come in and say, we think if you do this, at first it's not going to be good, but in the future it'll be better. Those are hard combos, and you've had to have a lot of those, which is why I think a lot of people say the deal that you were able to get done, brilliant, brother. You need to know that. Absolutely brilliant. And we're thankful as a sports media team that covers sports that a league is doing it too. And the NFL will try to follow suit, obviously, with what you're doing. And the NFL's ratings are bananas, and they always will be. But other leagues are going to try to do what you guys are doing with this deal. And I think it'll be great for the game, and I think it'll be great for the sports going forward.
Yeah, again, thank you, Pat. But I would just say we're following our fans, and we have a particularly young fan base in the NBA. And we have to make that transition to digital, to streaming television, because that's where they are. I mean, and again, as I said, to be down 2% this year, relatively flat in the regular season, is a huge victory, because we're losing, as an industry, enormous amount of traditional television viewers, whether young people never subscribe to cable in the first place or disconnect because they can get the content they want to watch. And your show is a perfect example. And ESPN, I think, is doing a really nice job straddling both worlds. You can get your telecast, your program through traditional television on ESPN, or you can get it on YouTube. And now ESPN has already announced they're going to take their service and go direct to consumer next year. So if you're not a cable subscriber, you'll be able to get the full ESPN feed directly to your phone. And that again will be a huge turning point in traditional television, because what's holding the cable bundle together in large part is professional or sports right now, major league sports, whether it's professional, top-notch college sports. That's a key part of why people get cable right now. And again, the whole industry is really just following the consumer, following our fans. You have no choice. And it's really interesting also for sports because in a way, I mean, I'm older than you guys, but you lived through the time where you had to get home to watch the game. And now you carry your television with you, and wherever you are, as I said, I think the way people think of it now, if you look what's happened, you have a lot of traditional telecasts have gone from, let's say ESPN to a streaming service, or from NBC to Peacock, and it's still by and large the same feed that you would be watching on television. What we're about to see, and I'm really excited about, is all this new optionality. So you'll be watching sports in a different way, and it'll create more engagement. Because one of the big things for us is it's not just the number of people watching your game, but it's how long they watch. And as you guys were talking earlier in the show about blowouts last night, you look for ways as a league, all right, you can't control the competition on the floor, but you can find other ways to keep people engaged. And really, just the way that you guys do, I'm a long-time viewer of what you guys do. And you find ways to keep sports interesting, to have Aaron Rodgers on, to be talking about things that are happening around the game. And I think that now those things are very separate. You have sort of the traditional pregame shows, halftimes. You have, formatted shows like what you guys present. And I think what really smart people, producers, are looking to integrate those different aspects, so that when you tune into a game, if you want a traditional X's and O's presentation of the game, you can get that. If you want sort of the Manning cast type presentation where they're not just talking about the games, but they're talking about other things that are happening, you can then expand that through streaming media where you don't have any limitation. Now, like you guys were talking about, why not have all the games on
one
last night?
Yes.
Part of it is just a limitation in terms of traditional television. Like you think of it like shelf space. We have 2 networks to work with. We're working with ESPN and TNT. So the only choice then is you got to put games in the afternoon so you can get them all on, as opposed to going 2 nights in a row. When you go to streaming media, it's unlimited. If you're on, use a platform like Netflix or whatever else, you don't think of it as in terms of what channel it's on. It's on Netflix, and you have unlimited menu of options. You can do the same thing with sports. It really opens up tremendous opportunities for us in terms of the schedule, that if ESPN, for example, has Friday night, as opposed to only choosing one game to go with, and there's an 8 o'clock game or a 10:30 game, and it might turn out there's an injury or there's a blowout, whatever else. They can have the full menu of games, and you can be presenting them all at once. And from ESPN's standpoint, or from the league standpoint, we just want people to watch. If they choose to watch Oklahoma City, as opposed to, Memphis, we're indifferent to that. We just want people to present the best possible competition at any time. So, I think you're going to see in the next few years more change in sports television than you've seen in the last 40 years.
Yeah, I think so too. And the NFL obviously is doing it. Thank you for that beautiful layout of what the future looks like for your league and also every other league that is going to have to. You're either going to have to do it or you're going to kind of die. It's a survive or die type.
The marketplace is forcing us there. I think that if particularly when you have a young league, and part of it I learned from our players. I mean, even if you ask them how they consume games, most guys, they're watching on their iPads. They're watching on their phones. We started with that League Pass product that you can get, through cable, or satellite. But it's just not how young people consume television anymore. And part of it is because you're on the go, and you can take your tablet, you can take your phone, and that's how I watch so many of our games. I joke sometimes. I live in an apartment in New York City. It's easier to navigate through my iPad to go from game to game than it necessarily is on a traditional television.
Definitely. I mean, that's no questions asked, especially because you got to connect into the streaming service on your TV. Then you got to log in. You got to hope you're still logged in. If you're not logged in, okay, let's remember our password. Do you want to log in with your phone? Yeah, take a little picture, little QR code. Let me do that. I hope my phone has the updated password whenever I do the. It's like a whole thing, but it's the world that we're in. And to your point about, there's going to be more change in the next couple of years than there's been in the last 50 years or 40 years or whatever in sports world. It's like, remember when they started streaming games, people were like, my dad doesn't know how to get on Amazon. It's like now they do. You know, like now, like society as a whole, both young and old, I feel like understand what the modern technology is. I'm excited you're taking advantage of it. Now, with that being said, we talk about pre-All-Star game, post-All-Star game, 2 different seasons basically for you guys, in my eyes, personally, watching from like 30,000 feet. I feel like your players are more liked now than maybe they have been over the last couple years. Do you agree with that? And do you appreciate the fact that your players are speaking a little bit more, whether it's telling their stories with Netflix documentaries, doing more interviews? I mean, LeBron coming on our show was the most absurd thing of all time. So thankful that he did that. But I think we all learned a lot about LeBron that we haven't learned in like 20 years. And I think anytime you learn more things about people, you like them more. And we're in an era now where I think people have to like who they are a fan of if they're not just a blind fan of the team. I feel like your players have done better with that. Do you agree with that? And how do you feel about that?
I definitely do. I mean, it's in terms of like more, I think it's harder for me to judge it on a relative basis now versus 5 years ago. But I know now that at the end of the day, I see large part of my job is putting our players forward as the multidimensional people they are. That, you know, that sort of one end of the extreme is that shut up and dribble notion. Like, we just want to see you play basketball. The other end of the spectrum is you see people for who they are, that basketball is one aspect of their lives. Now, I get it as a fan, first and foremost, and I'm often pointing this out to players, that it has to begin with their play on the floor. That's why they're here. People want to see them give their all on the floor. They want to see the passion. They want to see the effort. And so we can't ever take that for granted. But once you bring them, you know, to the big stage to play basketball, then to show that they're multidimensional people, that they're not just from Indiana. This is the city in Indiana they're from. This is where they played high school basketball. These are obstacles they've overcome in their lives. This is, you know, whatever, you know, issues they've confronted. This is how they made themselves better as a player. This is what they're interested in off the floor. I think the more ways we can present these players, again, so much of what you do, you know, through your show, it makes them more likable, to your point. It makes people more interested in them. I used the word engagement before. I mean, I'll just give you a quick example. When Victor Wembanyama was in New York for at Christmas, he played the Knicks, and then he stayed in town because I think he was playing the Nets 2 days later. He went to Washington Square Park, downtown in New York City, and he played chess. It was raining that day, and he loves playing chess. I think he played chess down there for an hour, and a bunch of cameras showed up, people with their, you know, smartphones, whatever. Something like 100 million people watched that over the next week. Clips of him playing chess in Washington Square Park. And I think now, number one, he's injured at the moment, but he'll be back. He's a phenom, number 1 pick in the draft, an incredible player. But when people see, oh, what an interesting guy. He also plays chess. He speaks multiple languages. That draws people in. And I think that's where this league can use social media, but it has to be authentic. He didn't pretend he played chess. He plays chess. He wanted to go out and play chess that day. But then people find new connections to him.
Yeah, it's like humanize, you know, because we see them.
That's the right word.
I mean, they're all special. Like, you have to be a special human type to make it into the NBA. They're all so tall. Steph Curry does not look that tall on the court. He walks by you, he's taller than you. Yep. Like, they all feel like superheroes almost whenever they're on TV. And then whenever you don't know anything about the actual human that is underneath, I think some people feel like, I don't really know if I can relate to this person. And then Wemby sits down in the rain in New York and just cooks people at chess. It's like, I didn't know this guy could play chess.
Exactly.
You know, it's like all these things are great things for the league. And I appreciate the fact that your players, you know, because I think there has been a lot of, and it's very well documented, and I'm not saying anything that's out of pocket, and it happens in every sport. A lot of ex-players, a lot of media always want to say what's wrong with the sport or what's wrong with the game to make the game better, I think is what they're trying to do by pointing that out. But sometimes whenever you're super negative about certain things, people can build that narrative about the entire league. And I think a lot of the players kind of got a little bit like, to hell with everybody. Everybody hates us. Everybody's talking shit. So the fact now that I think more of them are talking and showcasing who they are to the fans, I think that's great news for your league. I think that's great news for sports as a whole. Like, once again, LeBron walked in here, just walked right in and just started chatting. And he's like he's the face of your league and has been for like 20 years. And I think him and everybody else that's doing it is good for your sport. Now, the boys will have a bunch of questions, but I have to ask about something you alluded to. that trade was certainly something that drew some interest, and obviously Nico down there in Dallas is having to kind of answer the questions for the decision that he made, that team might be. They might be. They might be. I mean, there is a chance that they end up having a lot of success in his vision. But Luka, superstar, going to Los Angeles to team with LeBron James. And I know people that don't follow basketball very closely say, well, didn't the NBA block a trade from New Orleans to LA in the past? How is this even possible? Well, I think the NBA was running the team at the time because they didn't have ownership. What were your thoughts on this trade? When do you get a heads up that Luka is getting traded to the Los Angeles Lakers and AD is getting traded to Dallas? And what were your thoughts on it as a whole, Kamish?
Yeah, so first, just to clarify, I don't, or the commissioner doesn't have the right to block a trade other than a trade not conforming to our rules. So,
okay.
and you alluded to David Stern once blocked a trade, but I get how confusing it was to fans, but he was both the commissioner and the acting owner of the New Orleans franchise at the time.
Got it.
And so a trade was recommended to him by the general manager, and he turned down that trade based on what he thought was in the best interest of that franchise.
As an owner, not as the commissioner. He turned down the trade as the owner, not as the commissioner.
Exactly. And by the way, I learned my lesson because in that interim period when we were running the Los Angeles Clippers, a guy named Dick Parsons came in, and he was the interim governor. And I, of course, had been here when David turned down that trade. And I said, Dick, you are the owner of that team. You will decide what trades to make or not make, not me. So there's absolutely no confusion. But in this situation, with Luka, I learned, the league office learns a little bit ahead of the public because to the point of leagues approving trades, it's kind of like a closing at a house. Both teams have to be on the phone. The lawyers and the basketball folks at the league office have to make sure that the contracts match, that the team indeed does have the cap room to make the trade, that it complies with our rules. So I learned when they called the trade into the league office. And again, so I don't really have a role in that process other than if there's somehow a dispute as to the mechanism of the trade. In terms of the trade itself, look, it's obvious time will tell. The only place where I feel defensive on behalf of the Dallas Mavericks and new ownership there is there were some suggestions early on that the trade wasn't done for basketball reasons, that somehow new owner didn't want to pay a maximum salary or was focused on building a real estate development or something else. The only thing I can say, and I feel very confident in this, knowing Patrick Dumont, who's the governor of the team, and the people involved, they believed that they were making the best trade on behalf of the Dallas Mavericks. Whether that turns out to be true, again, only time will tell. I've known Nico for a long time, Nico Harrison. He was a longtime executive at Nike before he was at Dallas Mavericks. Again, whether or not he made the right trade, he's a really decent person. I know he's trying to do the best he can to run that franchise. It's been a rough time since they made the trade. There's no question about it. Combination of, Anthony Davis, my God, going down in the very first game. He was playing for the Mavericks. Kyrie then with the season-ending injury. I'm proud of that team. Obviously, they're still playing hard. They still have a chance to play into the playoffs tomorrow night. So I get the fans' passion. I understand, again, why Dallas Mavericks fans are so upset. I personally am a fan of Luka Doncic. I think he's a great young man, let's see how this turns out. I want him to be great. I want the Dallas Mavericks to be great, but there's no doubt. I'd say I've been in the league for a long time. It's been remarkable, I think, how much interest there's been in this trade. Maybe because you have the Lakers on the other side of it. You have the happenstance that Mark Cuban just recently stepped out as the owner of that team. So a lot of chatter around it, but we'll see when they play the games how this works out.
Yeah, and LeBron being a part of it too is just another, elevated, let alone JJ Redick in his first year. There's so many storylines there. And to your point about intrigue with the trade, I think a lot of people that weren't really paying attention to the NBA were like, hold the phone. Didn't that guy just go to the finals last year? Now he's teaming up with LeBron, and I think it's good for the league as a whole. I know that there's a lot of drama that comes alongside of it that you probably have to deal with. Speaking of dealing with things, it is your job to drive new initiatives to bring people more, interest in the league. AJ has a question for you, Commish.
Yeah, Commish, you mentioned engagement earlier. Is the in-season tournament, I feel like, has done a lot for people and brought people to more eyeballs, I guess, during the regular season. Is there anything you guys are spitballing or you're kicking around the room trying to think you may try in the near future?
Yeah, I mean, look, so yes, to your point that the in-season tournament has been successful from that standpoint. We knew we needed more, I think, games of consequence during the regular season. You know, we took a page from European leagues, a little bit from college basketball that's always had some of those tournaments, you know, around Thanksgiving or the holidays or whatever else. I think in terms of new initiatives, number one, we got to do a better job with All-Star. You know, I've said that before. We've tried some new things that frankly haven't worked. You know, we're moving the All-Star game, moves to NBC next year. We're going to be smack in the middle of the Winter Olympics. I think that NBC has some ideas around, you know, international.
You guys playing basketball on skates? You guys wearing ice skates?
Not a bad idea.
I'll watch.
You know, and if you see the, you know, credit to the NHL for the four-nation face-off. Obviously, that was really successful. We know from the last Summer Olympics, you know, that when USA played France, for example, or Serbia, got tremendous interest, tremendous ratings around that. It's a little hard to figure out when you have, you know, 30% of your players are international, you know, from many different countries, exactly what format will work. But AJ, that's something we got to get right. I think we're also looking at doing some additional things in Europe. You know, we're the number 2 sport behind soccer globally in Europe. Tremendous interest. Half of our international players come from Europe. Our last 6 MVPs have been, you know, in the league have been international. 5 of those 6 have been European players. You know, so we see opportunity there. You know, I think one thing that differentiates us is we're such a global game, and we continue to look for opportunities to just broaden the pool of people who follow this game. You know, Africa, we're doing a lot there. In the middle of COVID, crazily, we started a league there. I always use this statistic. It amazes me. 10% of the players in the NBA were either born in Africa or one of their parents was born in Africa. You know, Africa, you know, it's 54 different countries, you know, huge continent, but well over 1 billion people. So that's something we're focused on. And I just say, last AJ, just go back to the earlier conversation about technology. Again, we're not even scratching the surface in terms of when you move to streaming and digital media, how much more you can do around the game to create that additional engagement from your fans. Just, you know, some of it, yeah, you know, sports betting obviously has become really, you know, prevalent now, you know, legalized in something like 35 states. And I get the other side of it. And one thing about digital media, for people who don't want to see ads for sports betting or don't want have anything to do with it, click, that's off their screen. They won't have to deal with that. But I think that and other forms of gaming becomes a point of engagement for a lot of fans. Merchandising, collectibles, social media, user-generated content. I think you're going to be able to immerse that into the game experience. So
there's a lot coming, AJ.
Boom.
Yeah, what do you think this guy's doing? Just sitting in New York, not thinking of ideas, AJ? What do you think this is?
I knew there was a bunch going on behind the scenes. I just wanted him to be able to tell us.
AJ's in the studio today, and I'm not. What's going on?
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Commish, you'll be in our city this weekend. We think everybody will treat you fantastically. You've done a great job as commission. You talk about, you know, having to change some things and dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge your way through. AP Tone has a question for you.
Yeah, Commissioner, you and Pat were talking about digital and streaming and linear, and you used the word shelf space, which I found interesting because Christmas Day, NBA used to have all the shelf space, the whole cabinet, all the snacks were NBA, okay? And now Commissioner Roger Goodell comes in and he wants all the shelf space for Christmas Day. Have you talked to Commissioner Goodell about that and said, what gives? And if you thought maybe Christmas Eve is NBA's new shelf space for that time of year?
Well, I mean, Roger and I talk all the time, but we're competitors. And on one hand, I think that to the extent that the NFL does better, that college basketball does better, it's good for everyone. It definitely is a rising tide, I think, in the growing interest in top-notch sports. I mean, if you look at, you know, the most watched programs, you know, on television, NFL dominates that list, but the rest of the list, much of it is, you know, NBA Finals, Major League Baseball, World Series, etc., NHL. So we're seeing tremendous interest in sports, and I think that where they came on, Christmas they had the 2 games on Netflix, which were competing against our games on ABC and ESPN. I get it. I would never even suggest. First of all, he wouldn't listen to me anyway, but I think the NFL should do what's in the best interest of the NFL. So I have no issue with that whatsoever. In terms of looking at, I'm not saying we're going to move away from Christmas because the NFL is also on, but I think our players recognize that, we work on the holidays, and whether it's Christmas or Christmas Eve or there's other opportunities where people are home and are more likely, to have free time to watch our telecast, we should be looking at other dates as well. So that's something we're constantly exploring. But back to that shelf space issue, so there's, there of course on, if you think it wasn't so many years ago when you didn't even have that optionality of live sports on streaming, or remember early on they couldn't get it right and everything. Now it's just a given. You're going to have live sports on streaming. But now if it's just the NBA on Christmas Day, it may create the opportunity for more teams to play. I remember in the old days, teams used to complain to us when they played on Christmas Day, and now it's, now teams coming to the league and say, we want to be part of that showcase. We recognize that this is a day that people expect to see top-notch NBA competition. So as I welcome the NFL, I welcome the competition. It makes us better, too.
We need you on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
We need you on Christmas Eve because Christmas on Thursday, obviously, this upcoming year. So now there's 3 games for the NFL. And you talk to Raj, so they ain't going to give that up.
No.
They're not going to give that. Oh, it's Thursday. What do you want us to do? We always play on Thursday. And it's like, okay, well, that's just going to be how it is. Christmas Eve, I found myself just kind of twiddling my thumbs. And it's like, wow, it would be nice if we had the NBA showcase that's normally on Christmas Eve. But hey, that's your world. We're just football doofuses. Speaking of your world's big right now, but there's one side that's seeming a little bit more heavy than the other side. Conman has a question for you, Commish.
Yeah, Commish, it feels like you guys are the most, proactive in changing the playoff format, obviously, with the play-in games and everything. And right now there's a pretty big difference between the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference, especially when it just comes to seeding and overall records. So do you guys kind of see a chance where the seeding kind of changes after the playoffs are set, where you kind of go back and reseed 1 to 16 instead of doing the East versus West? Or is that kind of a bad idea when it comes to the idea of, Lakers versus Celtics in the second round versus kind of a finals matchup that you get with the East versus West Conference?
It's definitely not a bad idea, and it's something we've come back to over the years. We sort of looked at it, decided ultimately not to do it. Then, depending on where the balance is of the competition, we'll come look at it again. I think part of it is when you reseed, you have to then wait for that whole bracket to finish. So it adds some delay in the playoffs. I think, in terms of when you can start the next round. Part of it is travel. That when you stick with your conferences, up until you get to the finals, it's not perfect, but you reduce the crisscrossing the country to a certain extent rather than, first round going from coast to coast. So that's part of it as well. Part of it is tradition, that I don't think tradition ultimately should be controlling because you have to change with the times. So it's something we keep coming back around to. I think I'm fine with where it is right now, but we want to create the best competition at the end of the day. So we'll just keep looking at it.
Okay, you keep looking at everything while we will continue to watch. The league, one of the narratives around the Dallas Mavericks, whenever you said new governor, new ownership, everything like that, they were trying to get a real estate deal done, a casino deal done. People are also thinking maybe they were trying to get the hell out of town. Now, that's just things that were said. We're not saying that is real. We're just telling you this is the reality of things that were being said on the internet at a rapid rate about the situation down there in Dallas. With that being said, Ty has the last question for you here, Kamish.
Yeah, Kamish, how often do you think of potential expansion? Because we've been hearing for years now about a team going to Vegas. Obviously, the A's and the MLB are moving there. We've seen the success, in the city that the Raiders have had. I know Des Moines, Iowa is just clamoring for a team as well. So
really?
Oh, yeah, big time.
Pittsburgh.
Big time. Pittsburgh,
Sure.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of other cities. How much on like a year-to-year basis are you thinking about expansion, especially when you take into consideration all the things you're talking about with kind of the media rights exploding over the next 5 years or so?
So just to go back to what Pat said a minute ago, and I was the one who raised it, so I'll just finish the thought on Dallas. They're not going anywhere. There's no thought of that team going anywhere. It's true that The group that bought the team is out of Las Vegas, but they couldn't be clear. And I just want to make sure that, well, there's no doubt people have been talking about it, and it'll turn out over time to be a good or bad trade. But there were no ulterior motives there. This team is staying in Dallas. In fact, they're looking at building a new arena in Dallas. So that's that. In terms
of journalism, shout out us. That's journalism out of us.
In terms of expansion, we try not to look at it every year just because we don't want to be too much of a distraction. What I've been saying for the last several years, we knew we needed to get a new collective bargaining agreement done. We did. We needed a new media deal to get done, and Pat referenced that before. We did that. We've locked in our television rights for 11 years. And part of the reason you want to know what your television deal is because you now have new partners. You're going from dividing up the money in terms of 30 teams and those players to, let's say, if we expanded by 2 teams to 32. So you want to know what those economics are. So now that those things are done, we're just beginning a process so internally at the league of exploring the opportunity to expand. I will say sometimes on the outside, it looks like a no-brainer because it seems like you're printing money to expand. But again, as I said, you're really selling equity in the league. You have 30 teams that own the league, and now you're saying we're going to have 32 teams that own the league. So you're diluting the economic interest of all the 30 teams, and you're also potentially diluting the talent because, as with 450 players plus some in the NBA, but roughly 450 players, there's even among those, the greatest in the world, there's only so many difference makers. And then how are those players going to be distributed around the league? That's a lot of what we spend time on in collective bargaining agreement is the right distribution of players. And so we're looking hard at it. We're sort of modeling it, for lack of better terms, in the league office. Look, there's no doubt there's been interest in Las Vegas. Seattle, I've been very public about it, that it was a market that was fantastic for the league, that we left at the time for understandable reasons, but there's no doubt that there continues to be enormous passion in that market for the NBA. So we're looking at those markets and others. I think as we get into the summer, we'll get into a more formal process of how we go about doing it. I don't want to say it's a foregone conclusion that we're going to expand, but I also think over time, organizations tend to grow. And I look at the success of those markets for other, major league teams now. And, so it's easy to just present a scenario where you can see it working successfully for the league. But I don't want to jump the gun here. We have the 30 existing teams who all need to weigh in on this process, and also at some point need to have direct conversations with the people who are interested in those teams. It's premature to do that right now. That's what, we've been contacted by groups who are saying we have interest in potentially being part of expansion, not just in those cities, but others. And we've sort of said, we're not quite ready yet, but again, we will go through a very, methodical approach to it and do it very cautiously, but we'll continue to look at it.
Yeah, it sounds like that's how you do everything. Commish, we are nothing short of impressed with you. Congrats on another NBA season being great, and congrats on the playoffs about to begin when all eyes are on your league. We can't thank you enough for joining us today. Safe travels out here to Indy and to all the other cities, and you're the man. We appreciate and love the hell out of you, man.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Pat, and everybody. Appreciate the time.
You're the man. Ladies and gentlemen, the commissioner of the NBA, Adam Silver.
Yeah, Commish.
So many things. Do you have any other plans?
Yeah, so many things.
Well, yeah, I just kind of laid them all out.
Let me repeat all those.
Hold on. You weren't impressed the first time.
He gave me a great answer.
He did give me a great. That was a great follow-up. That was great because he does have to continue to 82 games, a lot of games.
Yeah. He kept saying engagement earlier. Engagement. Like, what do you do? Like, it's tough. These young kids, how do you get them engaged?
They have the digital audience.
They know.
Never gets talked about what the linear stuff. All right, hour 2 will be on the other side. Aaron Rodgers will join us, and we'll wrap up some sports stories. Be a friend, tell a friend something nice.
All roads leading to Eugene, and I can't help but say, hey, you make me want to jump, put my hands up and pick my heels up and all again now. A little bit softer 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 now. A little bit louder 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 now. A little bit louder. Yeah, it's awesome. It's a great day in Oregon. You know, we got a cannon. OH! We are! We are! We are! Thank you. I love this. Let me go ahead and cock that thing. Boom on! Boom on! Ah! Boom! Yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah. Hell yeah, Roughnecks! We got engineers, we got doctors, we got economists. We got real tests that have real implications happening. And all of these sons of said, give me college game day. Instead of studying, I had some questions about coming out here to Berkeley, but after experiencing it, it is very evident that this is one of the best cities in this here United States of America. USA, 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 USA. And this represents everything that is great with this country, with our sport. It doesn't matter which way you view the world. It doesn't matter which part of the country you're from. College football runs through our soul. And that is what a celebration today is all about. I am thankful to be here amongst these nerds and future geniuses and future people that are going to run this place. It's an honor to be in Berkeley. It's foggy. I think.
The following program is a collection of stooges talking about happenings in the sports world. It is meant to be comedic informative. The opinions expressed on this show do not necessarily reflect the beliefs of their peers, their boss, or ESPN. There may be some cuss words because that's how humans in the real world talk. If you are young, please seek permission before watching any further.
Hey. What? Let's go.
This show stinks, and the fact that you listen, we are very, very thankful for it.
McAfee on the line with a gorgeous assist.
The all-time leading tackler for the Green Bay Packers,
You pink.
damn it! Be a friend, tell a friend something nice could change their life. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to our humble abode, the Thunderdome, on this big program Thursday, April 17th, 2025. Hour 2 of the program starts now. Sports are fantastic. We're lucky to talk about them every single day, and today we've been blessed with the presence of greatness here in the Thunderdome. It's not just me and the toxic table at Boston Connor and at Ty Schmidt, sweet shirt.
Thank you very much.
Is that a wolf howling at the United States of America?
Yeah, howling at the United States of America and almost howling at Take.
Yeah, shout out Take.
Shout out Take.
One Dead Man show is happening on Saturday, I believe, at the Fontainebleau Theater, which is one of the many shows that will be taking place over WrestleMania weekend. Would like to hear Take tell some stories.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because he was on our show, told us a couple stories about, Cypress Hill and many others and things that he's done. I couldn't even fathom what it's like listening to him chit-chat. That's one half of the Hammer.
Dahn.
Cowboys ball cap tone. What's that?
I was just picturing Take. If Take shows Saturday, I know David Guetta's performing at the pool, Fontainebleau on Saturday too. I didn't know if they were doing it together.
I don't. I think it's a theater and a pool, two different vibes, but hey, both can be great times.
I mean, Take up there.
Take is going to be choke slamming people into the pool, I believe. That's part of it.
I mean, I wouldn't. and American Badass. He comes.
Yeah.
They put up a bunch of like pool noodles.
Yep.
They have them tight. And then he rides his little chopper over top. There's a chance. It's Vegas.
Yeah.
It's Vegas
Get
this
us a
weekend.
hook 'em.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, this weekend in Vegas, maybe the greatest weekend in the history of Las Vegas. And that's saying something. This might be the greatest Thursday in the history of the Thunderdome because we're joined by a man who has won titles at every level. High school, he once had, twice actually, had 30-some tackles in one game while averaging 45-plus yards a punt and scoring multiple touchdowns on the offensive side. He's a Centerville Elk through and through. Yeah. Former president of Ohio. Ladies and gentlemen, Ohio State Buckeye legend, AJ Hawk.
Didn't average 45 a punt. You know, every once in a while I'd boom 160, but then I'd yank one left into the crowd.
Yeah, but that's what average is for.
Yeah. I guess.
You hit
Not
the
a great
60-yarder
guy,
so that you can hit a 30-yarder on the other side.
Now you hit
else
a
you
60-yarder,
working on?
and then you hit a 6-yarder into the crowd. Like, that's what would happen. I'd be dead tired punting, kicking off, too. I kicked off a few of them into the crowd.
A lot of people, that's going to happen. A lot of people forget that you were a punter. I don't think that ever gets talked about enough. Is most athletic guy on the team, usually the punter. That is kind of how it goes in high school for some places if they don't have a soccer player punting or whatever. And you, I assume, quickly learned the punter math. Yeah, because all of us jogging off the field after the first punt, that was a 49-yarder. All right, we need to remain that. Oh, that was a 32-yarder. Okay, start doing the math. We want this thing to be a 45. You do 13, and then on the other side, we need a 58-yarder next one. Okay, so we have 45-yard average, which is what you were able to do. Congrats to you, AJ. Maybe one of the greatest athletes of all time.
Thank you. The guy that sits here, LeBron was here, D-Butt was here. No, I think
AQ Shipley sits there.
Yep,
exactly. All these guys are super athletes.
Hall of Famer.
That's Chuck Pagano, obviously. He's a boxer and a football player. Let's talk about GOAT announcing that he has one more show of electrifying college football fans around the entire globe. I've had the opportunity, obviously, to work alongside him the last few years, but obviously I've had the opportunity to watch him do his thing on television for the better part of the last 40 years or whatever the case is. However, I think it's 40 years is how long they're saying he's been with ESPN. Lee Corso has announced he's retiring after week one. He'll be turning 90 in August, and I've said this numerous times. Whenever you watch him at either the production meetings on Friday or on these campuses moving about, he's still got it, still quick, refuses assistance whenever you're talking about steps and everything like that. Obviously, on camera, it's been a little bit different for Coach Corso than it was maybe 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, you name it. But he was an energy, he had an aura around him at all times that was just like, hey, how you doing? Keep it moving. And he was a big proponent of it's just entertainment, sweetheart, and he very much understood that. And it's guys like him and Charles Barkley who understand that you're allowed to be entertaining, you're allowed to be funny, you're allowed for the people to enjoy the experience while they're watching and learning about sports. Trailblazer, dog, honored to call him a peer for a couple years here. And the sports world will definitely miss him every single week, but he does have one show left. Can't wait to see what he does. Not so fast, my friend. How many of those will we hear? How many more Ticonderogas will we see doing their thing? How many more gems will be dropped in that one episode? We'll certainly hang on to all of them. And congrats to Lee, changing the game. Changing the game forever. Changing college football forever. He is credited by a lot of minds at ESPN who, I know a lot of people get mad at ESPN because of how involved in college football they are. And a lot of people say ESPN has more say than they actually do, but it's an easy thing to say because of how invested ESPN is in college football. But the reason why ESPN is so invested in college football, from my understanding, this is just from being around it and meeting all the people that make all the decisions, they love college football.
Oh, yeah.
Like, absolutely love, obsessed with it. I mean, we talked to Kirk Herbstreit, and obviously he does a great job calling the Thursday night games for Amazon and kicking off every NFL weekend. But you're talking about obsessed with college ball.
Yeah.
Everything about Reese Davis, Chris Fowler, Nick Saban, obviously, is the greatest of all time. Desmond Howard, 20-plus years on College Game Day. The people behind the scenes breathe, sleep, eat college football. I mean, that is just what they are. That is why they're so at the highest of highs at ESPN and Disney. love college football. And Lee Corso is credited as building that sport and its popularity with his performances not only on game day, but just throughout the college football season, no matter what he's doing, and his speaking engagements and everything. So, like, you're talking about a guy who was viewed as a GOAT, a guy who was talked about as a GOAT, a guy who acted like a GOAT, I think, for a long time, and a man that'll be missed on television. So change the sport, change the business, change the trajectory, change everybody's life that he's around. So I think that'd be a job well done if you were to kind of speak about a human and his existence and his profession on television, speaking into a microphone.
Well, think of all the people that legit just waited around to see Lee put the mascot head on. Like, hey, who is Coach going to pick this week? And yeah, I mean, as far as I can remember as a kid, I remember Lee Corso on TV and checking out Saturday, turning on game day, seeing whatever he is doing. And the dude is an absolute entertainer. That's what I love about him. He came and spoke at my high school years ago with Kirk, and Lee was off the charts. You talk about energy, man. He took the stage and just lit the whole room on fire. They wouldn't have him back every single year, but unfortunately, Lee has those all around the country. He's doing it. But yeah, what an absolute legend, man.
They put out a couple graphics about Coach Corso. Coach Corso, by the numbers, 430 mascot headgear picks. Okay, which, to your point, became the show.
Yeah.
You know, that is what that's what the whole show is leading up to, is the headgear. 69 different teams have been picked. Most headgear selections by team. Oregon's been picked 21 times.
Wow.
Shout out to the Duck. Loves the Duck. Florida's been picked 22 times. LSU, hey, oh, great place down there in Bayou, 25 times. Alabama, Roll Tide, 38 times.
No way.
The Ohio State Buckeyes.
Where it all started, by the way.
Brutus, 45 times selected. So whenever you hear AJ talk about it, I love this guy. People of Ohio, absolutely. Everybody does, obviously. But, yeah, I mean, what a showman. An absolute showman through and through. And I think there's some people, you know, very young, that won't get the entire Lee Corso experience over the last 5 years, I'd say, or whatever, 3 years, whatever the case be. But you're talking about one of the quickest guys on television in the history. So let alone coaching and how much his players love him, let alone being an entertainer. But when you're talking about just brain, wit, quickness, you're talking about one of the best of all time, Ty.
Yeah, I mean, and now the cool part is, like, we're seeing all the clips, like the best of. It's like, you know, and like AJ said, like, it's very rare now when you get to be around our age. Like, he has been a part of game day for my entire life.
Me
like,
too.
Yeah, when I started watching game day, he was there the entire time. And for, like, what we do in sports media in general, like, that's just very rare. I don't think we're going to have very many instances where you look at a show that you watched your entire life up to, like, now when you have kids and everything, and it's the same mainstays on there. Like, I don't know how often that'll happen again.
It's a comforting feeling knowing that
Without a doubt.
what's going to be there. Lee Corso's going to be there. Kirk Herbstreit, obviously, as well. And Coach Corso gave Herbie a nice shout-out in his retirement letter. Last year, watching them have a few moments together, that was obviously very emotional for all parties. The people behind the scenes at game day have been there a long, long time, too. A lot of them. Now, granted, there's new people that come in to the crew. But you're talking about like 30-some years, some people working back there. So whenever you talk about Lee Corso, they've seen Lee Corso be and do everything that he's done for a long time. Those people love ball, love college game day. I think some of them did not necessarily love the addition of old Pat McAfee. But I think, obviously, I have massive respect for them, and I think I've maybe earned theirs as well over the years. But it's like watching Lee kind of work a room, too. Just...
Yeah.
You know, just always, always up, sitting down. And when he was losing his hearing there, obviously a little bit at the end, and we'd be in a production meeting, and something would get brought up, he wouldn't know what was going on. Then he'd be reminded, and that you think the topic was over, and then he would be informed on what's going on, and then he would drop just a fucking nuke in the middle of it. It's like, oh yeah, still got it. My man, yeah, absolutely. So age obviously catches up with everybody, but what he was able to do throughout the entirety of it, he's going to be 90 still on television.
Yeah,
Crazy.
Insane.
That's a wild thought. Congrats to Lee.
Yeah, and I feel like he even had a lot of great moments over these last few years. Like, I forget what it was with Kirk, but if it was his 500 show or what exactly it was, but they had that moment too where, you know, even Kirk talked about it.
500th headgear?
Yeah, was it his 500th headgear? I
maybe
forget.
600? What was the number?
I thought it was like 500 something.
So maybe it was the 400th?
400th.
I don't know.
Yeah, I forget what it was, but I remember that scene, of them two together, and Lee was obviously very thankful, and then even him going back to certain places that he's been at, like the return, and him being honored at multiple. I mean, Indiana this year, that his entire team from that time when he was coaching those
79,
guys.
I think he was coaching.
Yeah, 79, and then Belichick when Belichick was on last year at
that was
Army
really cool.
Navy, and Bill was talking about I remember when you were coaching with his Bill's dad, and things like that. I feel like are really cool to kind of relive over these last few years. So hats off to him.
Is he still going to be working at Ticonderoga, I wonder?
I would assume.
So. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's a rib that people tell me, like the game day people, but he had full-time job at Ticonderoga.
Really?
I think, from what I've been told. Like calling people, let me tell you about these Ticonderoga.
Like a salesman? Like he's cold calling people?
Leading salesman for 30
I don't know if he
years.
was a salesman or if Ticonderoga asked him to make calls or stuff, because he always had the pencil when he was talking. But yeah, I think he had a very an actual worked for Ticonderoga. I think he worked for Ticonderoga, from what I've been told. Now they might be ribbing me though. So that's why
I would assume they're going to retain. He'll stay with them.
Has to.
Yeah.
Has to. That number 2 pencil won't be a number 2 without Lee.
No. Sam Roberts, con man.
Need a Corso edition.
Huge for college ball though, and I think that is something that I don't think is said about Lee. Is they give him credit for building the sport and being a part of the development of college football. Just he's a pillar of the sport is kind of how he's viewed by a lot of people that are in the conferences, people that are at the schools, people that are at ESPN, college football playoff people. I mean, everybody's hey, this guy helped elevate this sport entirely over the last 40 years. So everybody is a massive fan of his.
Well, there was a period of time where I think he was the most popular person in sports media. I don't think that could be argued. There was that time period, and then you talked about it where he was it's all about the entertainment. He was one of those first people who weren't just spitting out facts and just talking as serious as they possibly can. It was making it fun and lively and actually entertaining. And yeah, Lee is I'm like Ty said, that was all I thought when I first saw the clips coming out again. The one where he throws the headgear and goes, fuck it. Yeah, fuck it. There was no one else doing that on air and making people laugh. He actually got pops from people on TV, which was awesome. But yeah, Lee's the GOAT.
And I would like to finish up with saying Lee could have very easily been mean to me, because what I am, who I am, how I operate. I pull a lot of inspo from guys like Lee and Charles Barkley and a lot of professional wrestlers and everything like that. The way I speak and my energy and the way I talk, it's I'm not a news journalist like a lot of people are in sports world. I'm trying to let's have a good time here. He was you look at the South Dakota State, the first time I did it, Lee sitting right next to me. And you see him go oh, I did not. And then after that show, very kind to me, very nice to me, very complimentary. And throughout the entirety, he's been very cool to me. So I'm very thankful for Lee. And good luck in retirement, man. I hope you enjoy fall. I hope you get a chance to go see some games. I hope you get a chance to go do whatever the hell you want to do. And happy early 90th birthday and happy retirement from all of us. You're the man, Lee.
Yeah, coach.
Joining us now, ladies and gentlemen, is a 4-time NFL MVP. He is a host of one of the top sports podcasts in the history of sports podcasts that drop every single Tuesday during NFL seasons for the last 4 or 5 years. 5 years, I think. Ladies and gentlemen, a first ballot Hall of Famer and a free agent quarterback, Aaron Rodgers.
Yay!
Hello, Mr. Handsome.
How's my internet?
Okay, all right. Your internet's great. I know you're probably, where are you right now? Are you at that same place we saw you walking on the beach with the towel and the blanket and open to everything attached to nothing?
I'm hanging out with this guy.
What up, Apollo?
And I'm looking out at you know what? There's actually a couple dolphins out there. I might need to get out there and get some of that good healing energy.
Yeah.
But there actually are two dolphins just raised up. It's very serendipitous.
Well, don't get out there because we know they like to, you know what we know.
They'll get you.
Yep.
You know what we know. They are a horny bunch from what we've been told. We don't know that in particular, but we've just read that around places. Shout out to the dog. That's Apollo, right? I think I learned the name.
Yes, it is, yeah.
How old?
He's born on Christmas. So he's not quite 4 months.
Way to go, Paulo. Welcome to the world,
He's
buddy.
a handful. He's a handful.
Hey, you have a puppy. That's a wild thing to have. You're a first-time free agent quarterback, and you have a puppy. Let's dive in.
Yeah.
Okay, so being a dog dad has been a massive piece of your life, I assume, over the last few months. As of April 17th, where do we kind of sit in your world right now? How is everything kind of gone? Because there has been a lot of things projected and said about what you're doing, what you're thinking, where you're at. Where are you at right now on April 17th as a human, we shall say?
I'm in Malibu looking at the Dolphins.
Yeah,
right now.
you get it. Mindset. You understand what I'm saying. You understand what I'm saying.
Listen, I live kind of a quiet life. If it weren't for my buddy Tim and my sister Mia, I wouldn't hear about a lot of the bullshit that's out there.
Nice.
But Mia finally said, listen, you got to go on the show and just set some of these ridiculous rumors and all these people who said they're close to me, sources, just set them straight, because there's been a lot of bullshit out there. And again, 90% of it I wouldn't hear about if it wasn't for Mia or Tim. So shout out to both of them, because I'm sure they're watching. But
shout out.
But yeah, it's been an interesting break for me. But yeah, it's been hanging out with Apollo, and enjoying my time.
Okay, so I'm assuming that Tim and Mia shout out, and thank you for watching if they are watching, and thank you for joining us to clarify some things. I assume what they're alluding to is all the different reports about what your football future kind of is going to look like. Over the last 2 months, we'll say, since free agency kind of started, it's been a lot of buzz. You're holding teams hostage with not giving them an answer. You're waiting out for another place. Oh, you might end up back staying at home in New Jersey for the Giants. Is there anything you kind of want to set straight here off the top as we dive into a lot of these conversations that have been happening about you that maybe you haven't been participating in at all over the last couple of months?
Yeah, I'll set it all straight. I have no problem. Listen, from the jump, it's, I'm in a different phase of my life. I'm 41 years old. I'm in a serious relationship. I have off the field stuff going on that requires my attention. I have personal commitments I made, not knowing what my future was going to look like after last year, that are important to me. And I have, a couple of people in my inner circle who are really battling some difficult stuff. So I have a lot of things that are taking my attention, and have beginning in really January, away from football, and that's been where I've been focusing most of my attention on. To make a commitment to a team is a big thing, whether you're a first-year player or a 20-year vet. And I had a lot of great conversations with a lot of teams. Not one of those was the Jets, because that wasn't a great conversation.
We heard. So that was an accurate report. Okay, got it. Okay.
That was not an accurate report. We can get into that in a second. But
okay.
But I had some good conversations. But I've been upfront with all of them. I don't have anybody, working on my PR staff. Like Mia is the head of my PR. She tells me what the hell is going on if I need to know anything. I don't have any leaks. I have a very tight circle. I'm not out there putting shit out just to put shit out. That's just not how I operate. There's been a lot of people assuming they have information about me that's just not true. I've been straight up with these teams from the start about where I was at, starting with the money thing. I told every single one of the teams I talked to, it ain't about the money. I play for 10 M's. I don't care. I never once said I need a multi-year deal, $30, $40 million. It's absolute bullshit. I said I play for 10. Yeah, whatever.
Well, I thought you were a selfish prick.
Yeah.
I thought that's what it was. I just saw a guy sign for $60 million or $55 million or whatever. You said you'd play for $10 million. Okay, so you saying you would play, that means you are thinking, is retirement still on the field? Like, where are you whenever it comes to like playing or not playing? playing for $10 million, by the way, makes it very easy for a lot of teams to be able to accommodate you. What does that mean?
Well, that's what I told them in March. In the beginning, in the very beginning, you can ask any one of the teams I talked to. That was the conversation. But also the conversation about where I was at in my personal life, the stuff I'm dealing with off the field, in my inner circle. That has to take my attention right now. And so I wasn't, stringing anybody along. I wasn't holding anybody hostage. I was honest from the jump about where I was at mentally, and some of the constraints that I have in my life right now that warrant my attention. So yeah, I'm open to anything and attached to nothing. So yeah, retirement still could be a possibility. But right now, my focus has been and will continue to be on my personal life, and that's what I've told the coaches. There's still conversations that are being had, and so it's all been very honest lines of communication. I've really appreciated the time I talked to the various teams, but there's been a lot of narratives that have not been anywhere near accurate. Starting with the Jets, continue with something I just read about, me pitching something to the Vikings. I know Ben, I only know this again because of me. Ben was on the show talking about me waiting around for the Vikings. That's not accurate either. I know there's, I'm sure, a lot of sentiment from both Packer fans, even maybe Vikings fans about certain things, but no. I've known Kevin forever. I've known Kevin O'Connell since we used to work out at Fitness Quest 10, I think it was called, in San Diego County, in North County. I've known him for 17, 18 years, and we got a good friendship. So we talk outside of just, this off season. We keep in touch during the season. So we've had good communication. And
we're getting right to it.
Government shut them down.
The government just shut down your internet right there. We heard it. The NFL just shut down your internet there for a second.
Shoot.
But let's talk about.
Now we're back. We're back.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Ben Roethlisberger hypothesized, which is what a lot of people have been doing, because a lot of people assumed that a decision would have already been made in whether you're going to play football, who you're going to play football with, especially with the draft looming and free agency coming and going. I think you saying that there's a lot going on in your personal life that needs your attention, and I think you've told me a little bit more about that. I think if everybody kind of understood what was going on, I'm not saying you need to tell anybody's story, but it's like.
But they don't need to. They don't need to. I don't need. My personal life is my personal life, and I don't need to dive into there's a sensitivity around some of the stuff that's going on for sure, and it's very important to me. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of silly narratives out there. I'm sure people are assuming I've been sitting in a hole in the ground contemplating, or maybe down doing ayahuasca somewhere. I actually haven't done any of that. Nothing's on the horizon. Haven't been doing any of that.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I clap or not. Yeah, because it sounds like you're mentally, you don't need it. Because remember, we only did those things whenever we were trying to find clarity.
Medicine.
We're trying to figure things out. So that's a good thing, I think.
Don't need the meds.
But if you were doing it, we would let you know. We probably would say, good for you. Good for you. Yeah, we'd be happy for you. Regardless there, but yeah,
I think my next time I do that, I'm gonna have to take AJ down there because he needs some serious help.
Mother Ayahuasca. He actually has a question for you, Aaron.
Yeah, you mentioned the Jets earlier. We can get back to the ayahuasca situation later, but you mentioned the Jets. What was that meeting like? We heard, isn't that where they said, hey, you can't come on Pat McAfee Show?
No, but that was debunked later.
Oh, of course. But I'm saying, how was that meeting? You mentioned, we'll get back to this. Sounds like you want to talk about it. What was it?
Well, maybe that was hypothesized as something that was going to be part of a conversation. Is the internet good? Are we good here?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
I'm sure they're trying to shut this part down, but listen. That was an interesting 2 years to say the least. But I figured that when I flew across country on my own dime, that there was going to be a conversation. And the confusing thing to me, and the strange thing was, when I went out there, I meet with the coach. We start talking.
Oh no!
Oh boy!
See, they don't want this. They don't want.
Yeah, no, you're back. You're back.
They don't want this out there. They don't want this out there right now.
You're back.
So where did I leave you there?
You meet with the coach. You meet with the coach.
We start talking. He runs out of the room. I'm like, that's kind of strange. I was like, then he comes back with the GM. And I'm like, all right. So we sit down in the office. And I think we're going to have this long conversation. I've flown across the country. And 20 seconds in, he goes, I mean, literally, I'm talking to the GM about something, and he leans to the edge of his sheet and goes, so do you want to play football? And I was like, yeah, I'm interested. And he said, we're going a different direction at quarterback. And I said, and I was kind of shocked. Now, not shocked because I didn't think that was a possibility. Listen, of course, they want to move on, that's totally fine. But shocked because I just flew across country. You could have told me this on the phone. If we weren't even going to have a conversation, and this is verbatim exactly how it happened. So I said, huh? And he goes, we just want to know how you want it released, the messaging. And I said, verbatim, I don't give a shit about the message. And I said, why? And then he said, I don't want to be up in front of the room saying something and have guys looking back at you.
Interesting.
And I said, what does that even mean? Are you assuming that I would be in the back of the room during a team meeting undermining what you're saying? I said, you don't know me. And he said, you don't know me. And then I said, exactly, which is why I flew across the country to have a face-to-face meeting with you to talk about my experience with the Jets and to hear your vision for the team. 20 seconds in. What I thought was going to be a couple-hour meeting turned into like a 15-minute meeting, and I walked out of there. But
so at that moment,
that was a strange meeting for sure. There was no me pleading like, "Please have me on the team." No,
I don't know.
I don't want any part of that. It was already a debacle in some cases. Listen, that whole situation was crazy, and I think even that was a little rogue by the head coach because I talked to the GM later about it. Christopher Johnson called me. Chris is a fantastic guy. Anybody that's ever met Christopher Johnson says the same thing. He's a phenomenal dude. He's about the right stuff. He's a sweet human being, and I'm thankful that I got to meet him and Doris because their friendship was a big, bright spot in the organization. And there's a lot of great dudes there. There's great players there, great humans. There's great, guys in the equipment room, training room, Carmen and Maddie in the nutrition department, all the strength staff. There's a lot of great dudes there. But there's obviously some things that need to get fixed over there.
Yeah, it didn't go well, obviously. There was high hopes and dreams by Jets fans, Jets organization, and you, which I think gets forgotten about. You had great visions of going over to New York and with the Jets and leading them to victory for the first time, long time. That ends up not happening. Then the exit, obviously, with new GM, new coach, as you said, seemingly a possibility, regardless, the way it went about it, didn't expect it. So when you leave that meeting...
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I wasn't surprised that they wanted to move on. But why would you not pick my brain? I'm there to talk to you about the team and about things that I think can get better and things that are good and players that have leadership possibilities and anything. I mean, I've been in the league 20 years. Any type of conversation, there was none. There was none.
Okay, so
that was strange.
Okay, so you leave the building. Probably in I would assume, a little bit of a mood. You get on a plane to fly back across the country. During that flight, are you now contemplating future of ball there, or when does that kind of set in? Is there a conversation about don't want to go out like this, or is this a sign from universe God that maybe my football life is over? Does that expedite the conversation of what your future looks like in football? Does it slow it down? How does that kind of affect what would then happen after that meeting takes place and you become a free agent for the first time basically in your career?
Well, first of all, I told my pilots, hey, have a good night, have some beers. This is going to be a long meeting. Sure, we might even have dinner. I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be a good, I'm excited about this meeting. So walking out of there, 25 minutes, it was really like 40 minutes because I saw Vito and Gus in the training room. I saw Dave Zuffalato, awesome trainer there. Got to talk to him. So I was there maybe about 40 minutes at one Jets drive. Then I drove home, had some conversations with some people there, including Christopher. But the next day when I left, I was just thinking, hey, that's the closing of that chapter. There's so many beautiful things about the 2 years that I had there. Obviously, most of them off the field, but no, I wasn't upset about it. I was surprised. I felt like there wasn't an ample amount of respect in that meeting. I guess I shouldn't have been surprised based on some of the things I saw over the 2 years. But I am thankful for my time with the Jets. I'm disappointed it didn't work out better on the field, but it didn't damper anything. I just thought, okay, well, now I have a chance to talk to other teams and see what's out there, and then also time to contemplate my own future.
Okay, so let's talk about the other teams that were potentially available. I rattled them off earlier, but we didn't really dive into them. You've been linked to a lot of teams, a lot of conversations. Now, I don't think anybody has said that you have told all of these teams, like, hey, right now there's a lot going on in my personal life, a lot going on. Very serious things with people that I care a lot about, so I am not in a position to make a decision. I assume because you didn't want to go to a team as a quarterback and everything, and then have to miss some time, which is what ended up happening last year with the Jets when you went to 98% of the OTAs and then you missed a weekend and everybody made a big deal out of it. So I appreciate us learning that you were up front with all of these teams. But these teams became very pronounced, seemingly, unless there was a wild card team behind the scenes that we don't know about. Giants. You and the Giants went down the road and chit-chatted a little bit. And did you contemplate playing for the New York Football Giants? And then Vikings, Steelers, I don't know how many other the Saints kind of just got in there. You don't have to lay out all of them, but have you talked to all of those teams? And what was it like being a free agent for the first time while chatting with these squads?
Yeah, it was interesting for sure. I'd never had that experience before. I'm not going to get into specifics about every team that I talked to, but it was a few teams. There were a lot of teams I saw mentioned that I had absolutely zero contact with. I would say I did talk to Brian Daboll and had great conversation with him. Really enjoyed him a lot. I think he's a lot of fun to talk to and has a beautiful football mind. Him and Josh. He had Josh in Buffalo. Josh is one of my closest friends in the league, and I just enjoyed the conversations. He's a really bright football mind. But yeah, there were some other teams that I talked to. Like I already mentioned, KOC is a buddy of mine, and we talk during the season. So it was a cool experience. Obviously, I went out to Pittsburgh and tried to do that as quietly as possible. A lot of people think that I'm desperate for attention, even though I haven't talked to you or anybody else in 3 months. But I did fly into a different airport, not the downtown. I'll tell you what I did secretly. I flew into a different airport. I got a Malibu rental car, drove the Malibu rental car to the facility, to the backside practice field, got let in the practice field, and then somebody in the building must have said something. And when I came out, there was like some cameras that were pointed, but there ain't no way they thought, this dude is not going to be in a Malibu right now. He's not going to be in a Malibu rental car, is he? So I kind of drove by him. They had like a really long lens I was seeing, and Mia did a deep dive to see if anybody got a picture, and there was one person who had a picture, and it didn't go anywhere of me in the Malibu. But that was fun to kind of sneak in, sneak out, but yeah, I mean, listen, I've talked to Mike Tomlin. He's more than I even thought from afar, as far as the type of person that he is. I have a lot of respect for what he's accomplished in the league. Arthur Smith, you guys have had Art on the show many times.
Love him.
I mean, talk about a guy that doesn't need to work. Doesn't need to work, but he's a grinder. We've had a friendship for a couple years now. And I just like what he's all about. I like when he's on your show. And the quarterback coach is actually a guy named Tom Arth. Tom Arth was in the quarterback room with me in 2006 in Green Bay in the offseason. The first offseason I ever did, went through the Mike McCarthy quarterback school. It was me and Tom Arth and Tom Clements. And thankfully I had Tom Arth because those were crazy-ass workouts that were really hard. And Tom, we gave each other some breathers here and there. But yeah, great dude. So it was nice to go into the city. I never really spent any time in Pittsburgh other than the few times we've played there. But yeah, I've enjoyed talking to Mike.
So what are you doing there? You're doing due diligence on the people and just trying to, do they invite you, obviously, to come maybe learn a little bit more about you? How does that kind of come about, you flying to probably the Beaver County Airport or Butler County Airport, hopping into Malibu, pulling in the back?
I'm not going to tell you what airport we flew into because it was great in and out, man. It was like it wasn't even.
It's always like that.
You know, it was.
It's easy.
That's Pittsburgh, baby.
There.
Pittsburgh's easy. Don't even worry about the traffic. Don't worry about that. I mean, Pittsburgh's good. But how did that come about? You guys just kind of wanted to see each other, kind of meet each other? Because if you were up front with them, was saying, hey, right now, off season, a lot going on. Lot that is kind of taking my attention. And I assume they understand, especially if they learned what it was. There was just like, we should at least do some due diligence for each other. Is that kind of how that comes about with you traveling to Pittsburgh?
It's different when you're talking on the phone. You know, luckily with my lack of service here, it's a lot of FaceTimes, but it's different in person. I just, you know, personally, I wanted to see what it was like there, see the facility, get to meet Omar in person, you know, see just get a glimpse, a snippet of what life would be like in Pittsburgh. So I thought it was important to go see it in person, and I also want to do it as quietly as possible. So there were very few people that even knew I was heading out that way, besides Mike and Omar and Arthur. Like even Tom Hart didn't find out till that morning. And I've known Tom forever. I got to reconnect with him last year on the field. I hadn't seen him like in person in probably like 19 years. You know, this guy was in my quarterback room. I guess it was 18 years if it was 2006, but he didn't even know till the morning. So it was nice to be able to get in early and get out.
We found a picture of you in the Malibu. We found the Malibu.
Hey, there it is, right there. That was me.
You look like
that
you got a hoodie,
100%
sunglasses, hat on, Malibu. That is awesome. You're an attention whore there. Remember, you're an attention.
Yeah. That was the exact picture that I saw. So I saw these people. I said, damn, they're going to get a good pic here. At least I got my SR hat on. Shout out to Mike. But yeah, that pic never went anywhere. So now, obviously,
there it is.
I mean, everybody knew I was there at that point. But yeah, that's me driving to Malibu. Right
I want to let you know the people of Pittsburgh will respect the fact you're driving around in a boo, brother. I'm going to let you know that now. Let's stay in Pittsburgh. AP Tone has a question for you.
Yeah, not me necessarily, Aaron, but there's going to be a lot of Steelers fans who want to know if you are still in contact with the team and if they gave you a deadline, because there's a lot of people in Pittsburgh talking about deadline. They need to have you before the draft. They need to have you before minicamp, whatever, OTAs. Are you still in contact with them? Did they give you a deadline, or did they say, hey, you know what, take your time, deal with what you have to do personally, and then just let us know?
Listen, this entire time, I haven't felt like I owed anybody some sort of decision at any point. This is my life. Like I said, things are different now. My life is different. My personal life is different. I have stuff in the inner circle that, I'm intimately close to, that it's really important to me. And I've been upfront with them about that and said, listen, if you need to move on, if you need to do something, by all means, like nothing but love and respect, if that's a decision that needs to be made. But there's been no deadline, and yeah, I've talked to Mike T many times.
Okay, so you're still in contact with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Feels like the trip went well. You're dealing with stuff in your life right now. Steelers seemingly understand that. Didn't want to out you, because I assume there's a lot of times where Steelers, because they're getting questioned a lot by the Steelers fans. Hey, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? They have tried to completely kind of, I want to say dumb it down, but basically not say anything. So it feels like there is a trust between you two, which is great. And we saw some photos from UCLA, Nico Iamaleava's school. AJ has a question for you.
Yeah, Aaron, we saw you throw into DK Metcalf. First off, did you hire the videographer, photographer for that? What was this all about? How did it go? I mean, you were pumped about this completion. You had a nice little dig across the middle, it looks like. But how did this come about, and who is this? Where is this footage from? Who took it?
It was the other guy. I think his name is Alex. Was there? I don't know if he's a full-time guy for DK, but yeah, he was taking some video and some pictures, and I said, it was fine if DK released it, and I don't think DK did. I think actually the kid did. So I'm not sure if everybody was super excited about that. Maybe they were. I don't care either way. But yeah, again, I wanted to do due diligence with this whole process, and part of it is talking to a guy like DK. And let me just say this: what a great dude! What a great dude who loves football, and what a specimen this guy is. I was laughing with him because I said, "Where do you work out?" Because I've been working out at Proactive here for a long time, even rocking the Proactive gear and that shirt. He goes, "Oh, UCLA." I said, "What time do you work out?" He said, 6 a.m. I said, "You got anybody else working out with you?" He said, "They last a few weeks at most, but then they taper off because nobody wants to work out that early." And then when we were throwing, I said, "Hey, can it not be 6 a.m.? I got to drive. PCH is closed." So we threw it. We met at 8 in the morning, which is much nicer than 6. But yeah, I've had a few conversations with DK, and I just think he's a super guy. Part of the process is just, with this whole thing, is seeing how my body is, how it responds, how I feel. I'm 41 years old. Take pretty damn good care of myself, but I wanted to see how it felt to throw with DK and how the juices felt and how the ball came out and just all those little things. And also just get to know DK. And like I said, that's a really good human being. Like from the first conversation I had with him, he was saying like, "Yes, sir," and "No, sir." And I said,
"You old ass."
Just because I'm old? No, that's just how he talked. He's just a really respectful dude and an absolute specimen. He's accomplished a lot in the league, and I've enjoyed getting to know him a little bit. Enjoyed throwing to him. I mean, what a talented guy he is.
Okay, so I'm gonna get right to the point here. You love DK, love Tomlin.
Wait till you meet GP and Pat.
Yeah, George Pickens, Freiermuth, absolute beast. The city of Pittsburgh is, wait till you try Rudy Subs. Everybody knows Permane sandwiches, Dallas Alice pizza. Holy hell. There's so much to love about the city that I assume you didn't get to experience in your one day in your Malibu, easy in, easy out. But it sounds like what you're saying, and you like Dayball. Obviously, the Vikings, you and KOC have a relationship. That was the thing. They got JJ McCarthy over there. But there's been a lot of chatter about you going to the Steelers. And nothing that you have said here has made me believe that you're ruling out going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Is that an accurate assessment? And if you were to play again, does it feel like it would probably be for the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Well, again, I'm going back to it, but I am trying to be open to everything and not specifically attached to anything when it comes to this decision. I'm not holding anybody hostage. I really want to emphasize that. Nothing about what I'm saying. I've been upfront from the beginning. I don't mean any disrespect to any player on their team, veteran or young guy that comes in. I'm just going through a lot in my personal life that has to take precedent at this point. Because, that's a big commitment. And when the commitment is made, it has to be an all-in type commitment. And I know people say, "Oh, well, you missed minicamp last year." It's like, we can go down that story at some point for a different time, but not now. I've talked about it at length, but I don't think it was fair to the Steelers or anyone, to make a decision while I'm dealing with a lot off the field. So at the same time, I want to keep the lines of communication open. That's why I've talked to all the important people, and the people that need to know what's going on, and the people that don't make up shit about me, and that really hasn't changed since COVID. So,
well, I think even before COVID, which is why Aaron Rodgers Tuesday even started, then I think COVID probably expedited.
Well, COVID, put it on steroids for sure.
Yeah. We're not going to get.
Still, I haven't. Not that I need one. I haven't got an apology. I haven't got an apology yet about anything COVID related. I haven't actually heard. I don't need that. I would just like maybe some of the same crew one time to maybe admit, especially after everything has been released, you were wrong.
Maybe that hippie out there, maybe that football doofus who had a 500-page report that kind of gets lost in the entire thing, had a little bit of piece of information ahead of time, and maybe that type of mentality and stick-to-itiveness is a reason why he's a GOAT whenever it comes to football. Now, you said you're trying to keep the lines of communication open. I would assume that there's a reality about what is next week. Connor has a question for you.
Yeah, Aaron, great to see you. Always a pleasure. Next week, the draft, and I'm not saying, what prospects do you love, because I assume, like you said, you've been dealing with a lot of stuff. You're not really locked in on that specifically, but have you kind of thought about the idea of certain teams making certain moves, and does that change anything? You said you're attached to nothing, but if there was one team that maybe went a certain direction, would that change a thought on maybe possibly playing for them, opening the door to go to that team? And then also, you brought up last year's minicamp. We now all know over the last 3 months you went to Egypt to explore the tunnels beneath the pyramids.
Bingo.
I wish I had.
Okay.
I mean, shit, I've read a lot of stuff about, even before the what is it, LiDAR, what they're using to expose it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Bare minimum, those weren't tombs. So
okay, bare minimum.
Boom.
Just at the bare minimum of the conversation.
Bare minimum.
Okay.
Bare minimum.
Well, happy you went over that. We didn't know if you had a shovel when you went over there.
Yeah.
You were digging down to see what was there. But anyways, go ahead.
I wish, but I haven't seen one draft prospect film or nothing. I mean, I watched some college football for sure. I did see the running back from Boise State. He was at UCLA the day that DK and I worked out, and he is a specimen now.
Yeah.
He is put together. He is put together well. Yeah, he is well put together. And I think, I don't know, maybe Bijan Robinson. Who's the last running back to go in the top 10?
Bijan,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Was it Bijan?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that's probably going to be, he'll probably go in the top 10. And, I mean, just the eye test, he passes the eye test for sure.
Look at this. We got a mock drafter, Aaron Rodgers, while doing this. But does the draft affect anything that you are going through?
Oh, no. Not at all.
You just kind of, you'll watch it, see what it is, and then we'll catch up and see what happened on the other side?
I mean, listen, I'm not going to say I won't watch it because I know you guys are doing it. If I watch anything at all, I'll be watching you guys.
That's kind of you. Thank you.
I'll say that.
We'll be
and you're going back to my old stomping grounds.
Mm-hmm. That's right, AJ.
Fantastic.
The heralded son of Green Bay is coming back to Green Bay. It'll be great to see him out there.
What type of reception do you think he's going to get? Because he did end up playing for a couple other teams. Is he going to get cheers?
All-time leading tackler for the
boos?
Green Bay Packers. They got to go bananas for AJ Hawk, we would assume.
They're waiting on you to come back, Aaron, just like we were at the big night out.
Yeah, what's that all about? I thought you were making your decision at Big Night Out.
Sorry I couldn't make it. Yeah, sorry I couldn't make it. Really wanted to be there.
Yeah. I know you're a guy that loves all the attention and the spotlight and everything like that. He told me, he was like, could you imagine if I go in? I'd be the biggest asshole of all time. The amount of time that you put into this and all the people that you have, and then I show up and it's just like.
Hey, that was a private conversation.
Okay, all right. I'm just telling you.
I'm still not sure.
I'm telling you, yeah, Aaron. I'm telling you, Aaron was like the fact that I was he like almost apologetic that it was even like a part of the company. You need to know if you would have been there, definitely trotting your ass right out to that middle. Mm-hmm. You're getting a football in those right hand and left handed. Mm-hmm. I want to see both out there. We would have loved having you, but I do respect and appreciate you being like, you didn't like that was a big part of the narrative, which I respect out of you. And I think a lot of people kind of misunderstand who you are as a human, as a whole. And I can't wait to see what you do next, legitimately. How often are you thinking about it? Like whenever we saw that picture of you on the beach, like there's 1,000 things going on in your personal life, so I guess you could be contemplating anything. But how often is football on the mind? I assume it has to be a lot. Legit, I assume it has to be. And are you listening to, oh, mama, I'm in fear for my life from the long arm of the law. Boom, boom. Or Tone Diggs wondered if you actually had wave crashing sound in your headphones because the ocean wasn't making good enough wave crashing sounds.
Thank you.
So you just kind of amplified it in there. How much are you contemplating football? Is it an every day, every hour? What is if you had to just put like kind of a time frame on it?
I mean, it's a small percentage because the conversations have been had. There's no more contemplation. I'm taking care of my people right now, and I'm taking care of my personal life responsibilities, and I'm keeping the conversation open as well. What I listen to on the beach, I listen to mostly Alan Watts speeches.
Oh, really? He's a good one. That guy's an orator.
That was our second guest. Our second guest.
That's guys. Yeah, we did.
That was the second guest.
Yeah. Oh, TJ Watt's speech.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
Yeah, JJ's dad.
Watts.
Yeah, it's all the Watts. Okay, yeah, we're tying it together. Is TJ gonna be there? He's throwing out the peace sign. Last question for me. Your helmet being banned. Is this something that's crossed your mind on? You know what? The helmet goes, I go.
Uh-oh.
Again, I didn't hear about that until I don't know if it was me or Tim, but one of them let me know that was out there. Listen, I know it's been on the edge. I mean, I've worn multiple Shutt helmets that have all been on the edge, and then at some point, I think this is at least the second, if not the third helmet I've worn that is like got cycled out because it doesn't pass the concussion test good enough.
Dog. Absolute dog.
I don't know. Listen, I don't know the inner workings of Shutt, but if I were to play, I'm gonna wear a Shutt if they're still going. If they still got a good helmet that passes some sort of test, that's what I wear. I'm a Shutt guy. I've been for 20 years. I've tried other helmets at other times in college, but that was my favorite helmet. So it's too bad that they banned it because I haven't had a concussion in a number of years. But they make damn good helmets.
I'll tell you what, if Shutt can pass a protocol, I'm going to wear it. Now, it's on the edge. How about him saying on the edge? Yeah. Every time it needs a score of at least 6.4 or higher. This thing's 6.41.
I mean, it's been on the bottom of the yellow for sure at least the last 3 or 4 years. It goes green, it's all the Vices and different ones, the best Riddell ones. And then it'd be like the Shutt XP, whatever, Pro down at the bottom that I wear. Like just 2 notches above, that no one else in the league is wearing.
They put that up on the jumbo, like on the screen at training camp, because they'll come out and do an entire presentation about the new models, the new studies, the new research, the new everything. It's part of the equipment room. And they do have like a scale. Here's the safest in our eyes helmet. And then they do say like these ones have been banned. These ones are close. That's a hilarious thing you describe it as on the edge because everybody's like looking, oh, nice new model. And then Aaron every time like, still good. All right. I don't know how they're rolling that one out there again.
I swear to God, it's one of the first things I look at. Is there was always like a player in a helmet, and it had like green, yellow, and red. And I'd always look for that little shit. I'm like, oh, well, we're still good. Still good.
Well, I'm happy to hear that you are still open to things. I'm happy to hear that it seems like your football conversations in life are going in a positive fashion. I'm happy to hear that you're driving in a Malibu in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on a Friday out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry to hear about you going through a lot of things in your personal life with your inner circle. And we all are excited to hear about what you're going to do with your future whenever you figure out the time is right to make that decision. We appreciate the hell out of you, man.
Yeah, listen, I don't have sources. I don't have people that are out there pushing narratives. I speak for myself. And it's been nice to be quiet for the last few months. It's funny in that time period how the shit narrative goes fucking crazy, right? When I haven't said a fucking word. So there's nothing to say. I just laid out where I'm at. There's nothing else to report. There's no other reason to be continuing to talk about me at this point. So it's time to turn the page. All those people that have made a lot of money slandering my name, apologize for COVID.
Okay.
Say your vax status.
Okay. All right. I'm happy to hear you. A couple months off. Still got the fastball.
And fucking keep it moving.
Yeah, you're right. How you doing? Keep it moving. Tell Apollo we said hello. Can't wait to meet him.
Yeah, I don't know where he's at right now. He must be laying down on the ground here somewhere.
Pissing on something. He's pissing on something. He's chewing.
Probably, chewing something up for sure. He's chewing something
Huskies
up.
are very not active either.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. And Apollo.
No, not at all.
Apollo is a
dog.
You can tell just by looking at 4 legs and everything. Mm-hmm. 2 different eyes, right? Huskies?
Sometimes. Oh, yeah.
No, they're both blue. They're both blue.
Like Dad.
For Apollo.
That's what you're saying.
Oh, Australian Shepherds.
Yeah.
They have the different eyes a lot.
Have you ever seen a half wolf, half husky? You ever seen that one? Those are big.
Yeah.
Those are big dogs.
Dire Wolves are back.
Connor, Connor, are you thinking about going to space anytime soon or not?
I mean, I don't know. It depends if we got any green screens around here. I can go later on.
Okay. Aaron, we appreciate you, brother. Hope you stay on land. Hope you make whatever decision makes you the happiest.
I might go in the ocean later, but other than that, yeah, I will. I'll be good right here.
Watch those dolphins.
Yeah, careful.
Watch those dolphins.
I don't see any right now. There's a guy down there fishing, though.
Good luck out
Not sure
there, pal.
what he's fishing for.
Well,
hey, thanks. You guys be safe out there. And if you go to Green Bay, man, and you want dinner, go to Chives.
Can we stay at your house?
Yes.
Yeah. Boom.
Go to Chives. Stay at Aaron's. Life is good. We appreciate you, ladies and gentlemen. Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, Aaron.
Okay, so as a Steelers fan, what did you hear? Because I'll tell you what I heard.
Go ahead.
What I heard was... Sounds like
if he's playing, he's playing.
That sounds like that is what I heard.
Due diligence.
Not only his due diligence, and he wouldn't say it there. Obviously, it's very personal. It's very serious things that are happening to people very close to him, and I think he is a big part of helping his. Like I think he's a big part. So I think he probably didn't want to make a decision, do it all, knowing that he was going to be absent, not only physically, but like mentally as well. He's very serious things. He won't say it, and I don't want to, I almost feel like it, I'm not going to say it. There's very, very, very serious, not for him, but people very close to him. And he feels, I think, compelled or
responsible.
Yeah, he's helping people out.
People that have been around him a long time that have had a lot of things happen to them that are very, very serious. So he feels, so I think he doesn't want to, I think he was very upfront with people like, I don't want to do this. And then, because I don't think he liked how big that story got last year about the OTAs.
No.
He was like, I was here every.
If he's going to be in, he's going to be there fully.
I think that's what he wants to do. Yeah, because I think he wants it to very much work. Like if he's going to continue to play, which he said he's still open to retirement, which potentially is something. He doesn't want to go like what the Jets. Like he's going to want it to have success. So I think it sounded like he is a fan of the Steelers, is what it sounded like. Yeah. And it sounds like he's not in a time to make a decision or in a time to commit to a football team right now and be their quarterback at the age of 41 with everything going on around him. But it sounds like let's see what takes place and then. You know, it sounds like he likes Mike Tomlin, what's going on in UPMC down there in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, obviously he loves Coach T. He said Coach T exceeded his expectations, loves Artie Smith. As we've said many, many times, Artie Smith didn't need to be sleeping on a couch. He could be an exec at FedEx if he really wanted to. Got to meet Omar. I know everyone in the facility, from what I heard, loved Aaron and everything went great inside of there. I mean, him renting a Malibu and cruising through the streets of the Pittsburgh is awesome. Doing his due diligence with DK and everything like that, and he spoke so glowingly of DK, which we knew we gave him $30 million. No, it sounds like if he's going to be playing football, it's going to be for the Steelers, which I am so happy.
In the Vikings, he was like me and KOC know each other very well. Didn't really dive into that much. Gave him a couple opportunities to dive into the Vikings. Didn't. So it sounds like in his eyes, maybe not as big of a story as maybe we or anybody else is kind of making it.
Yeah, and it's crazy because when you think about it, he was already in the league when KOC got drafted to New England. So you assume they probably had a relationship a long, long time ago before KOC was even a coach.
It feels like a lot's going on in his personal life, but he feels like he's at peace too.
Yeah, I
AJ?
think he's doing great. I think he's doing well, like off the field. But the one thing I didn't ask, we didn't mention the Saints, did we?
You brought it up, but he didn't say anything.
Mentioned it, yeah.
So I guess that's a non-story. Yeah. So if he's going to play, he's going to play for the Steelers. Was there any other options out there that we mentioned that he said like?
Talk to Dayball. He said he liked Dayball.
Giants.
He liked Dayball.
I mean, that doesn't have a quarterback right now, though.
They didn't though for the longest time.
I don't think the Jets were an option.
It sounded like that did not go well.
Yeah. That's wild.
You could have just texted me and said, "We're moving on."
Like that's not normal in the NFL, right?
I don't know, but maybe AG was looking for his response there. Maybe like he was hoping Aaron would be like, "No, I want to be here." Like there's always a reason, I'd assume. Now, Aaron Rodgers, for instance, I would certainly expect a heads up that 20 seconds into this thing, you're just going to tell me you don't want me to be here whenever. I mean, that's a long way, brother.
Yeah. But maybe from the Jets side, they're thinking, hey, we wanted to do the courtesy of talking to you in person about this. But then if you actually thought of it, you're like, well, I live in California. It's kind of far. If you're going to let me go, let's do a phone call.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously two sides. There's a reason that AG did that.
Yeah,
I would assume
because you could easily say, "Oh, they sent me a text and cut me." You hear people like break up with their wife over text
via
or something.
Tweet or something.
Yeah, so they probably thought, "Hey, I'm being respectful by doing this in person," but just not.
But Aaron on the other side, like, what are we?
Yeah,
you didn't even ask me like what I like. Like,
what needs to be changed?
21 years, I've been okay at this thing. I know you are also a very good coach, but, I've been around a long time, had a lot of success, not even you don't even use me as a sounding board before telling me? Okay. Thank you for all that information. Now, with that being said, we'd like to move on. So I think he probably assumed that conversation was going to go a lot of different directions, even if it was a conversation about him not being there anymore, which I think we all knew was a very real possibility, especially with the way the NFL works. New coach, new GM. They have a team in their eyes, how they want it to be. Is veteran quarterback Aaron Rodgers the one that they're looking for? Maybe not. So I think he understands the reality of the business, that they could move on. I think he's just like a lot with the Jets that I couldn't have expected. I think that's probably how he is viewing it all. We didn't get to your question, which I apologize for.
No, all good. I think the biggest takeaway, at least for me, was that there is no, because we kind of talked about this out there before the show a couple days ago. Well, what if he just waits around kind of until there's an injury to some other team, and then he decides, hey, I'll week 8 or week 9, I'll go sign with one of these contenders who gets put into a spot. But it sounds like he's not waiting around for the Vikings. Once he kind of puts everything to bed in his personal life with that situation, then it seems like he's going to come to a decision, and that decision ultimately feels like it is going to be the Steelers. It doesn't seem like we're going to get 4 weeks from now, the Vikings actually, maybe I will come in and then we'll figure out, the situation there. It does seem like he knows it's Steelers or nobody.
That's what
point.
It feels like.
Yeah.
Is that what we all heard?
That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
But if he said the draft doesn't change anything. If they go, say Shadur falls and they draft him,
I don't think that
doesn't
matters.
change things, does it?
He's not starting year 1 anyways.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, because then you still have the Because Aaron with the Jets, I think he has said that he would be open to a younger quarterback. Never needed multi-year, he said. $10 million, 10 M's.
10 M's.
10 M's, dude.
Oh, well, you're told different.
It's a great amount of money. But $10 million just out of nowhere is great.
Yeah.
But in comparison to what he would be the 28th, I don't know. How many rookie quarterbacks, I guess? There's 4 or 5. So he'd be like the 26th, 23rd, 22nd highest, whatever it
I'd
would
say
be.
you can guarantee me 10 M's, but I want to put a bunch of incentives in there. If I take you to great heights, I want some more.
Yeah, we need at least a division title, playoff win, conference championship, Super Bowl.
Yeah, the only way he's playing is if he feels like he can win.
Money is not the thing.
Which he said, with the Jets. But I mean, to the point of the money, Justin Fields got 2 years, $40 million from the Jets, so I'd be way under that.
That's also why the Giants and the Saints never seemed like viable options, because he's not gonna go just to play and collect a paycheck. If the Giants or the Saints get Rodgers, do they immediately become Super Bowl contenders? I don't think so. If he goes and plays for the Steelers,
here we go.
Yeah,
because they're always gonna win. Tough division.
Exactly.
Yeah, if TJ's there,
he'll be there.
They're gonna give him $40 million.
They have to.
He's chucking deuces, though.
You can't let TJ go.
It's only 30%.
You can't even let TJ play on the last year of his deal this year.
He's chucking deuces, bro.
He is. He's going like
He's a
this.
foundational piece of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Was that on Big Night Out Wednesday?
It was.
Yeah. Maybe he was saying.
What does that mean?
Peace
Do we
be
know?
with you.
Do we know? Any context to that?
Yeah.
Enjoy Big Night Out because I'm out, bitch.
No, maybe he said. Maybe he had 4-1.
He did,
and that was 2. Maybe he was.
Could be.
Maybe he was representing 4-1-2.
Where's the 1?
Yeah, well, it could have been his thumb. It could have been his because he 4 fingers and then 1, and then he was doing.
That's how we do it.
The 2, yeah, that's what people do.
He's chucking deuces, bro. Nah,
you see that, dude?
Yeah, but he doesn't have his pinky up in that. So
no, but I'm saying he did. He tried to change it. He tried to do it this way. He tried to do it with
5-2,
4 fingers, 1 thumb, and then 2 over here. You see 4-1.
You wouldn't get it. You're not from there.
I think he's chucking deuces,
fuck,
bro.
He's saying fuck Pittsburgh, bro. I'm out of here.
No, he's not saying that.
Yeah, he is. He's saying, oh, deuces, bro.
Nah, he's not saying that.
What's Jage saying? His brother can say what he can't say.
Jade said you get a deal done early. It's cheaper.
Yeah.
And you should have done that. Basically, that's what he said the last time he was on the show.
JJ said.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, talk shit about your fucking superstar's brother, bro.
Go ahead.
You're right. That was a bad idea.
This is why TJ's leaving. He's sick of it, man. Just like all the Cena marks, they're sick of the disrespect. Cena's sick of the disrespect, and TJ should be too.
I think the TJ deal will get done. That feels like it has to.
It will. Always does. It got done during training camp last time.
For the good of the NFL, it feels like.
Is he going to hold in, or is he going to go to OTAs?
He held.
Not like it
he
matters.
held in last training camp. I can't remember what he did for OTAs.
You might get traded on draft night.
Yeah.
next Thursday night.
New England Patriots.
Okay, so the NFL is obviously very alive. The NBA is very alive. Hockey, the Canadians secure a playoff spot. Congratulations to the Le Habitants. Getting into the playoff picture for the NHL, which has been set. The Columbus Blue Jackets do not make it in. Hell of a run there at the end, though. Hell of a run there at the end, and the boys will be back stronger and sharper than ever next year. Obviously, we're pulling for the Capitals, strictly because we met every single a member of the team.
We did meet the whole team.
Every single member of the team, and OV is a beast. What a year it's been for them. Good luck. The Golden Knights also.
Yeah, we'll see you in the finals. They're hot. I mean, they are blazing hot right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Stoner?
Stoner obviously doing what Stoner does, per usual. Jackie Ace is coming off the best, season of his career. I mean, Noah Hannafin doing what he does. I mean, just all the boys are buzzing on all cylinders right now.
Do you still have your pods and your kit?
Without a doubt. Hanging in my locker right now whenever called upon.
How come... oh, yeah, that's a great question. Sorry, Gumpy. Tone just wanted me to ask you how Texas hockey is doing.
We've lost 7 straight. We're just fucking cruising going into the playoffs.
Gubs, who just came off LTIR, brother?
Tyler Sagan. Yeah, we scored 15 seconds into the game, then we let in 6 straight last night against the Predators.
Good start, though. If you
Predators,
can just
one
finish.
of the worst teams in hockey. I don't know what happened. We got Rantanen, one of the best goal scorers in hockey. We need Miro Heiskanen back. I don't know if he's going to be ready. We got the Avalanche first round.
Yeah, I know. What about Robo?
Robo, he got hurt last night playing when he didn't need to either. So, yeah, he was in a knee brace leaving the stadium. So it's great.
Lost some glue with Pav.
The Avs, the favorites to win the Stanley Cup on ESPN Bet. Florida Panthers with Marchand down there. Are they getting Kachuk back? I heard he's on the ice.
Coach spoke today and said everyone's available for game 1.
Uh-oh, Kachucky's back.
Need them to go. Want that first round pick.
Canes, Golden Knights, Oilers, and I'll be excited to see if the Devils can get it done at plus 5,000.
Sure.
And congrats to the Canadians making their way into the playoff picture last night, earning at least 1 point is all they had to do. Now let's talk about another sport that's taking place: NFL, NBA, NHL, and the MLB's happening.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a night of big bombs, big hits, and even a concussion or two.
Yeah, we've been talking about this time and time again. The MLB's at its best when the superstars are performing. Only had a couple games last night, but what happened? Shohei Ohtani hits another ding-dong. Aaron Judge hits another blast. Shohei's was an absolute moonshot. I mean, he's hitting that 450 feet. Just a no-doubter. Thought the Dodgers would go ahead and just beat the shit out of the Rockies, because the Rockies are another team who kind of – they skim by, but they're very similar to the Pirates. They just absolutely
85
suck
miles an hour
every
right in the
year.
middle of the-
Yeah, exactly.
Hung that thing right there.
Yeah, I could have done
Not
that.
the Shohei.
But the Rockies are another one of those teams who are okay with kind of just winning 60 games every year, getting their ass kicked. They also have a
Field's great.
beautiful ballpark, but they're very pesky. They came back, almost beat the Dodgers. They didn't, so it doesn't really matter. And then Judgy here. I mean, listen, I know we talk about Shohei, and he is one of the biggest star in the MLB. Aaron Judge is the best player in baseball, and I'm not just saying that as a homer. You look at his numbers, absolutely ridiculous. He was 3 for 3 in this game. He got intentionally walked earlier, and then tie game in the 7th. This guy gets one pitch to hit every single night, and that's why they don't pitch to him, because when he gets a pitch to hit, he hits a fucking shot.
I think he was 2-2 with an intentional walk before this at-bat.
Correct. So he ended the night 3 for 3. He's batting over 400. He leads the MLB in batting average, in slugging, in on-base plus slugging, in RBIs. He has 7 homers. I think the league leader has 8. And then, scary situation here. You forget this kind of stuff can happen in baseball. Hunter Wendelstedt, first base umpire, just eats a line drive.
Side of the head, right?
Yeah, right off the side of the head. And you can see, I mean, he drops like a fucking bad habit, obviously.
That's why first base coaches have to wear helmets now.
Yeah,
I would
exactly.
assume these umps are going to start wearing helmets there on the side.
Well, you can't obstruct their vision, because they got to be able to
Get the John
make
Olerud, the old John
Damn,
Olerud.
that would
has no
hurt
earpiece.
so bad.
Oh yeah. And luckily he was fine. Nothing ended up happening. He left the game and he was good. But every once in a while, this is kind of why the majors can never have metal bats. Because of shit like this.
Shohei almost got donged in the dugout.
He did, yeah.
He almost took one right to the head.
Mookie Betts hit a foul ball into the dugout, and they have those concrete barriers, so those balls are going super fast, and then it hits that concrete, skips like crazy.
It's also coming back off the backside of it. When we were at that Pirates game, we were in a foul ball to the face. There was a couple that get over the net, and they're going so fast because the pitchers are throwing harder probably than I don't know.
Than ever before, they are.
Yeah, okay, so they're throwing harder than ever. batters are stronger than ever. So anytime, and I don't know, E equals MC squared or whatever it is, but anytime something's moving fast and then something very hard, that shit's going very fast. Tough to react. It's hockey with a puck. You know, the way hockey's had to protect the fans because of the pucks going in there, baseball's obviously had to do the same thing. But if you're on the field, it's going to be difficult. You're right in the way. AJ, big head on that guy. I think probably protected and saved him.
I hope so. I mean, I hope thick skull. This is real. Like, if you're watching a baseball game or even a hockey game, we went to that Pens game. I was sitting up a little ways. Like, we were right over the glass. Like, we were right in the area where you could take one right to the face. So
got to be attentive.
I told her, I'm like, hey, don't protect you guys. I got you. I'm keeping my eyes on. I'm not looking down at my phone. Like, you look down at your phone in one of these games, you're dead.
There's nothing you can do there either. Like, it doesn't matter how, like, you can't react that quick to a ball coming off a bat like 115 miles an hour. It's just, there's no way. But he's
way
good.
to get back up.
Yep,
way
absolutely.
to get back up.
Hunter Wendell and then, you know, people making a bigger deal about this. This fight was, we had a benches clearing brawl in the Nationals-Pirates game.
Oh, hell yeah.
Absolutely chicken shit, though. Pablo Lopez throws high at Kutch right after he hit Brian Reynolds before that. And then, you know, quote unquote, the, you know, obviously they're wondering, hey, Skeen's going to go out there and beat the shit out of this guy. The bench is clear, the bullpen's clear, but this is what we can't have happen. Then these guys just kind of sit around, play grab ass, play patty cake. One person did end up getting ejected, but if the benches are going to clear, like, we need fights.
Throw hands.
You know, that's kind of how.
It's cold. Look at the guys are cold. Oh, we're coming all the way in.
That's what I'm saying. You clear the bullpens too. Like, that means actual bad blood. That means, hey, we need guys throwing punches. We need guys, you know, getting ejected. We can't just do this kind of BS. It ended up being, you know, nothing really happened, and that was kind of the end of it.
Koch, we hope you're okay.
Yeah, he was.
Happy to see the boys stand up and yell at the other side for him.
Yeah, exactly.
That was good to see a little bit of, a little bit of energy there. AJ, the Pittsburgh Pirates are in a bad spot. Okay, they got Paul Skeens, the next one. Koch obviously has been a very successful baseball player. Started with Pirates once a month, came back to Pittsburgh. The ballpark is glorious.
Yeah.
But the numbers are not good down there.
Yeah. It's a joke. It really is. Like, you guys talk about it, and I think, like, people who maybe aren't from there, don't follow baseball, like, don't understand. Like, there should never be 8,000 people at a Major League Baseball game, ever. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, I understand it's cold, so you can maybe say that for a couple, but, like, we've seen a couple of these instances where, like, the weather's great. That stadium is immaculate. It's beautiful. The tickets are fucking cheap.
The food, good.
Yeah, like, everything about that experience is grade A, and it's still, like, you're still watching Major League players, and I think that's kind of partially why people are fed up, and the Pirates have 5 guys batting below 200 in their lineup right now. Like, they don't try to compete. So even when Skeens is pitching, the night we went and saw, there were probably I don't know what they said for attendance, but way less than, 8,000 might have been what they said. There were probably like 3,000 people there. Like, it's a fucking joke, man. And, like, something does need to change.
Yeah. And I think people not showing up is becoming a message from the city to the ownership and to the team, not to the players. I tried to tell that to Paul at Big Night Out, because numerous times throughout Big Night Out, it has gotten to a pitch with Pittsburgh fans. You remember Fire Canada? You remember that? That was
everywhere.
Whole country.
Everywhere we went, yeah.
And then Tomlin was forced. The Steelers were forced to do something that they have never really done, which is make a coaching change at a coordinator position in the middle of the season. It literally is not something that the Pittsburgh Steelers ever do, but it got so loud. Pittsburgh fans will let you know. And this one feels like they are finally fed up with the ownership, because I think it's because Paul Skeens. I think the Pittsburgh people are at the point of being disgusted with the owner. Used to be mad at the owner, hate the owner, it's bullshit, this is Buccos, but we'll go have a nice family night out at PNC Park. Everything we just said. Maybe we'll get some Zambelli fireworks. We're going to expect the Pirates to lose, but hopefully somebody on the other team is good enough that we can say we were there for a moment. Now it's at the point where it's like the Pittsburgh people are like, we're done with this. This is from Big Night Out last week on Wednesday.
Sell the team. Jesus. Oh, shit.
2 hours later.
Oh, no. That's tough.
Yeah, what's he supposed to do?
Yeah, Paul's in a tough spot there. And I did not expect that, to be clear. I did not expect that reaction. I had no idea. But it does feel like the entire city of Pittsburgh is at the point where they're like, This guy deserves better, Paul Skeens. We got a guy. And we've seen this before. A lot of Pittsburgh Pirates pitchers have started in Pittsburgh, and then they go on to win awards in World Series at other places. And then with Paul, it's like, I think all of Pittsburgh is like, this guy loves our city. This guy is perfect for our city. And he's the next one. And this ownership group is still just not doing something or anything about it. That's why I think they're so loud, and that's why I think they're not showing up. I think they've decided as a group, like, nah, we're not giving this guy anything. Is that how you think about it?
Yeah, it's definitely a decision because the tweet that was just up there, I think it's 4 or 5 times this year, already under 9,000 tickets sold. It happened only once last year. They weren't good last year either. They weren't good the year before.
When was the last time they were?
2014 was the last time they made the playoffs. So that I would 10 years it's
Decade.
been. And so they haven't been good since then, but this is the first time that no one's showing up, and it's a coordinated decision by the city because they are so fed up with everything, and because of Paul. There's definitely a correlation to Paul starting second half of last year, coming into this season with all the expectations with Paul and the rest of the pitching staff, and then they did nothing this offseason for the lineup to help the pitching or Paul, and it was loud coming into the season, and then they didn't have a good start, and it's just kind of reached a fever pitch.
Would like to let Paul know this is a compliment. Because they love Paul Skeens.
They got a big old pop.
Huge pop.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. He is the one that they are mad. Mm-hmm. Finally fed up with ownership because of here we go again, another one
for him.
Man. Yeah, and everything that Paul's about, Pittsburgh people are like, we like this guy.
Yeah.
What are your hobbies? Nap. And then
baseball.
Baseball, really. How do you feel about the city of Pittsburgh? Love the people here. Love the city. Love everything about Pittsburgh. It's like nobody's saying that in baseball for the Pirates in history, let alone the guy who's supposed to be a Hall of Famer. Now, obviously, a lot of career left, but he's doing things that nobody's ever done before. I think he is the reason why the Pittsburgh people are done with it. Just like this guy does not deserve this, basically. This guy's representing our city in a poor fashion, and I think it's only going to continue, to be honest.
And I assume, Diggs would know and, Pirates fans would know, but now it's just the expectation. We joke about it where it's he'll be a Yankee in 5 years, but it's a lot of these guys, it's going to happen. These guys don't want to, and it has nothing to do with Pittsburgh. It has nothing to do with the city, but it's more people were showing up to his games at LSU to watch him play. You're not the number one pick, a guy who could win a Cy Young. You go to the big leagues. You've dreamed about this your entire life, and then it's your day to go out there and pitch, and nobody's in the fucking stands. It's like you're playing in a high school game. People can blame the weather or whatever. It's cold as shit in New York. There were 43,000 people at the Yankees game the other night. Because guess what? They have a $300 million payroll. They put money into it. They want people to come to the stadium and enjoy the Pirates' payroll is $88 million. They don't try to feel the competitive winning team, and eventually people will. They'll just be like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm done. Why am I going to spend my money if this rich prick's not going to spend any of his money?
Yeah, and I saw a video from Jet Passon talking about that, how going into this year, you have Paul Skeens, you have the pitching staff, you have a bunch of guys, and then they put $19.5 million in free agency this year, and we're talking about $300 million for one team, and then we're talking about Pittsburgh here, where their best player isn't one of their highest paid guys. He's on a rookie,
It's a rookie quarterback deal.
It's a rookie quarterback deal, yeah, and they're only putting $19.5 million in that offseason.
That is 100% the issue because Skeens averaged 25,000 people at his games last year, which is a pretty good number. This year we saw the game, there was nobody there, and it's exactly because of that. They said, "Oh, we have the guy, we have the pitching. Let's put money into this team this offseason, and we'll be fucking great this next year." And they did jack shit, so that's why everyone's super pissed.
Yeah, and everybody in Pittsburgh said they did jack shit, and then they said, "No, we like our team," and then they started out terrible, and they're like, "You did jack shit."
Yeah, they don't play in a good division, so if they would have done a little bit, they could go with while Skeens is in his prime here and he's not making $40 million a year, which he will be eventually. They could have been one of those teams where it's hey, the Pirates could win this division every single year.
That park, AJ, deserves
beautiful.
to
It's the best. From where we sat, if you stand at home plate, you look through the outfield into the Clemente Bridge, right?
Yes.
Zone, and everything about it. It's awesome. Everything's awesome.
Everything about it. Great logo.
There's no quick fix though, right? What can the owner do?
Well,
bring it, spend money, bring it,
sell it.
Sell the team.
So we're looking into this. Baltimore sold I guess, a few years back.
1.3.
1.3 billion. So we would assume that the Pirates would be in that ballpark, maybe 1.5, maybe 1.75, whatever the case is. The guy bought the team for how much money?
It was 90.
Congrats, dude. You did it.
90 mil?
90 million.
What year?
Orioles was 1.725.
Okay, so probably like 2 billion just because as things go, professional sports are only going to go up. So somebody could buy the Pirates potentially for $2 billion. You're also buying that P. That every hat has. When you buy it. I don't think you're buying the stadium. I think the city runs the stadium and all that, but it's like you got Paul Skeens there. If you were able to buy that team, that guy goes from 90 million to 2 billion. You should be pumped about that guy.
Yeah.
Passion fans.
Get out.
Take it and leave, dude.
It can't be fun to be the owner, and the owner has to come across their desk.
He
Sell
is
the
hurt.
team.
From what I've been told, he was hurt. And also, opening day, he was walking around the stadium, wanted to be a part of the people, and one person recognized him. It was like, yo. It wasn't a thanks for everything. It was a sell the team.
Yeah.
And they just, everywhere he walked, it was just literally like a hive of people. They passed, it was like a wave. They passed the chant to the next group of people he was walking by. Because he was walking down a walkway or whatever now. So like there's a group of people here. They recognize him. Sell the team. Oh, buddy, he goes, okay. He gets to the next group. They go, hey. And they sell the team. And then he gets to the next group. Sell the team. He had people from every part of the city, every part of the stadium telling him to sell the team in person on opening day. That should be like, as an owner, like opening day should be like a big deal.
Celebration. Like, hey, there's hope. There should always be hope on opening day.
We're back. Instead, every single human that saw him, except for the security guy that was walking with him, I guess, because he probably felt obligated not to say it, was telling him to sell the damn team. That's basically, there he is. He's walking through. Sell the team, you son of a bitch. Next caught him. This fucking guy. There he is. That's him. That's him. Then people are turning around, continuing to sell the team. And, from what I've been told, obviously he has heard the stuff that's been said on shows.
Sure.
Our shows, other shows, and everything like that. And Mark Cuban always said, because Mark Cuban's from Pittsburgh, went to Indiana, obviously ends up in Dallas buying the Mavericks. Allegedly, he got turned down buying the Pirates a couple years ago. He's trying to make a couple runs at it. Who knows if that's still the case. But he says, if you were getting paid $40 million a year, would you wake up every day, go stand in the middle of downtown for 5 hours and have everybody come tell you suck, and then you just go home? But you're getting paid $40 million a year. Would you take that job?
I don't want that.
Me personally, no.
No.
But there's a lot of people that would say, yeah.
In a heartbeat.
If you're paying me $40 million.
If you're living that for years, that's tough.
At some point, you got to lay your head down. You would think that there would be some sort of pillow thoughts. But what I've realized with this guy, he doesn't have them.
He doesn't care.
He does
don't
not.
care.
I mean, he's just walking
He just
around.
running a profitable business.
Yeah.
Bingo.
That's all he's doing.
It's not the same thing because there's not as many of like the issues and like this guy's a real piece of shit. And I don't know, like his backstory really or anything like that. But it's almost like a Dan Snyder situation where it's like everyone says for the longest time, like, this guy fucking sucks. He needs to sell the team. We're never going to be any good while he's the owner. And they get off on that. It's like, oh, well, guess what? I do own the team. And I'm making a shitload of money, and there's nothing any of you fucking people can do about it until people are like, okay, well, then we just won't come anymore.
Yeah, and that's what's happening right now.
Yeah, and like the direction of baseball. Like, it feels like baseball does have steam. And
a lot of stars.
A lot of stars. The games we were talking about earlier.
Trout's playing well, right?
He's hitting home
he's hitting
runs.
homers, yeah.
But like the games are going quicker. The pitch clock's helping. All this stuff. Like, sure, he could sell the team now, or he could wait 10 years, and baseball might be in a much different place where he's selling it for, $2.5 billion. Like, look what happened with the Timberwolves. Timberwolves sell for, what was it, 1.5 or whatever it was. But now the Celtics just sold for 601 4 years later. Like, that guy tried to get out of selling the team because the NBA stars, a lot more people got more steam. Like, the MLB might be in that same position now.
Yeah, so maybe he's just holding on for a couple more years.
Yeah,
we got Paul. You're right.
Another decade.
A lot of people going to be buying Pirate stuff. This valuation's going to go up. And everybody in Pittsburgh is like, can we just try to field a team? Can we just try to be a squad? We got the stadium. We got the atmosphere. We got the people. And we got an ace.
That's what, like they could spend like if they spent $70 million more dollars. Like, we're still talking about having half a payroll that like the Yankees and the Mets do, but like at the very least, like, hey, at least you're trying a little bit. Like $88 million for your entire team's payroll. Like it says to everyone like, hey, we're not trying to win. So
And I assume other owners don't love it either. because they have to share
care
money.
They got rev share, so there's these teams. The Yankees are taking care of the Pirates, aren't they? How they have to take care of these teams that don't spend.
And it's not good for the league to have a team that is just like clearly not attempting to win. You know, I'd assume the MLB doesn't love it.
They have to hate it. I would love to hear what like the other owners say about them.
More people are showing up to these AAA stadiums than they are to the Pirates games.
More people showed up a big night out.
Exactly.
Yes, a lot more. Yeah. Go to a Columbus Clippers game, AAA team in Columbus, Ohio.
The Clips
jammed.
Well, you tried, Pat. You tried to make it entertaining. You tried to put on a good night, and you did. It's weird how that works.
I invested in a thing.
Invested heavily, and it's weird how that works. You sell out a place, and
Spent
everyone
like
has a great time
of
and
what
talks
the
about it.
Pirates do on their entire roster for the whole season in one night.
Yeah.
So, that kind of says it right there.
Let's get out of here. We got to hit the road, Jack.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to come back, but it's in a long time.
The road to mania.
The road to mania is hitting the sky for us here in a matter of a few moments. Next stop will be Las Vegas for the greatest spectacle in all of sports entertainment, WrestleMania. Tomorrow will be absurd. I have got confirmation that there will be another guest.
Oh, here we go.
Whoa. Shut up. Who? No.
I don't want to say it. Word?
No.
What? No way.
Word?
What?
Word?
What?
Word?
What?
Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah!
I do believe for you.
Whoa.
What a day.
Yeah, let's go.
God.
Doors open at 8 a.m. local at WWE World. We will start at 9 a.m. local, obviously noon Eastern. 9:15 will be our tribal chief. Rhea Ripley will stop by. Triple H will stop by. And I do believe Stone Cold Steve Austin will be stopping by. Cannot wait to kick off WrestleMania weekend tomorrow morning. Cannot wait to be a part of the Hall of Fame and the kickoff to WrestleMania in the afternoon, then Hall of Fame late night, East time, 10 p.m. local. And then obviously WrestleMania Saturday and Sunday is going to be absolutely glorious. The things that come out of WrestleMania are talked about forever, every single year. Even if you're not a massive wrestling fan, you turn on this weekend, you're going to find yourself entertained, wowed, and potentially yourself a wrestling fan for the rest of your life. Just disappear for a little bit. Just disappear. Just go into the world and enjoy the hell out of yourself, because what the WWE puts together is second to none. We are very lucky to get a chance to work intimately with it for a big night out. And the people that have been around WWE on the production side have been putting on the greatest spectacles around the world for decades and decades. And in Vegas, with all the opportunity and the stars and the investment, this weekend is going to be second to none. I cannot wait for an iconic weekend, and we hope you'll join us tomorrow. And then we'll be live on Monday, wrapping up WrestleMania, and also potentially chit-chatting with Max Crosby.
Oh.
Live in person in his home of Las Vegas. So we appreciate you all so much. AJ, thank you for coming out to the Thunderdome.
Great being here. It's awesome.
You did look cool today.
Great
So
fit.
cool.
With AJ here, I think we need to do a giveaway.
Yeah.
I don't.
Actually,
You're right. We've done a lot. All right. Never mind. We'll do one maybe tomorrow at WrestleMania. Be a friend. Tell a friend something nice. It might change their life. We're in this thing together. Hey, chat. We appreciate you guys.
Shout out, chat.
Shout out to the chat. AJ, anything to say to the chat?
Shout out, chat.
nice.
Boom.
I already said that.
Yeah, I know. So I reiterated. So they got it. Double down. Boom.
You wanted to retweet.
Like Bruce dancing on Pete. I said, Bruce, what are you about to do? Doubling down. And he went and grinded on Pete back in the day.
When he did the.
I was talking about Pete Thamel. Okay,
P-Rab,
obviously.
yeah, my bad.
All right,
Pete
yeah.
Thamel.
Obviously, everybody understands what you're talking about here.
Yeah, of course.
Inside jokes and inside stories are obviously amazing, especially when outside people
That's
are
very
listening.
inside, too.
Yeah, it was very, 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 very inside, yeah. Bruce is a Michigan fan, so whenever Pete Thamel was doing the news that he was doing about Harbaugh and others, Bruce was offended by it, like I believe a lot of Wolverines fans were. And then Bruce was a little boozed up in a hotel at the National Championship, and Pete Thamel happened to be hanging out because Pete Thamel is friends with us.
Love Pete.
And Bruce just couldn't help himself, and Bruce stumbles, basically knocks over Pete.
Pretty much headbutts him.
And then says something to him, and it was almost a scene. And Bruce, I hope you felt good over there. Go Blue.
Go Blue, baby. That was a deep cut then. It's a deep cut now.
Well, shout out to AJ. Yeah. He didn't know your name at first. That's why we call you Bruce.
Yep.
Now he's referencing a drunk night in Houston, Texas at about 2:30 a.m. in a hotel lobby.
Yeah, multiple years ago.
Yeah.
That's good brain on you.
2 years ago. Yep.
That's it.
0 concussions, unlike A-Rod.
Multiple.
Multiple, yeah. Could also use the word couple in that particular instance. Multiple would also work because it's more than one. But
right.
I appreciate where you were coming from. And thank you for coming out here.
It's great to be here.
Are you getting in the ring this weekend? It looks like you're in shape.
Yeah.
I don't believe so, but there's a couple people that I'm looking for some surprises. I think might get in there.
Who are you looking forward to?
Oh, I mean, we all know. We all know our one guy we like, Tommy Invincible. We hope he gets his shot. Maybe Sam Roberts. I hope Sam Roberts gets a chance to get in there.
I'll let Tommy Invincible know because he heard D-Butch shout out yesterday and we talked about him. AJ was...
I've been pushing him for a while.
Early adopter.
AJ found you early. Yeah, AJ's been funneling your reels to me for a long time. And I would like to say, AJ, you got an eye for talent, brother.
Yeah.
You got an eye for talent. You got an eye for talent.
An eye for moxie.
Absolutely. How could you not? I mean, the first video I saw, I think there were 7 people there.
He high-fived them all, though.
All of them. And the yell and the intensity, it was like, that's how you, like a professional. Like,
Yeah, he's a pro. That's what I think of. This guy's a pro. It doesn't matter how many people are out there, who's out there. We're going to
Are
entertain.
you in good shape? It looks like you're in great shape right now.
Why? What does that do?
He doesn't. He looks
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I haven't seen you. I haven't seen you in person in a long time.
Yeah, I'm about the same as I've always been.
You look jocked, dude.
Not really.
Man, I'd love to see Punk kick your ass this weekend.
I'm not taking. I would never take one of those.
Punk.
Hey, man.
CM Punk.
You seen the bombs he throws?
Yeah, I'm there every Monday.
Yeah, I know. No, I don't want any part of
Do you?
it. I don't want any part
Do
of
you
it.
know?
What?
What about Seth freaking Rollins maybe stomping your head through the fucking desert?
I don't want any part of anybody in the WWE. They all scare me.
What about Michael Cole?
Michael Cole, now, if he came out of the old Cole train and put his singlet back on, maybe I'd get in there.
You'd knock him out?
Maybe I'll carry him like a backpack into the ring. I'll be his manager.
Johnny Bananas.
Yeah.
Or maybe, the baby Bjorn. He's on the front,
Facing you.
Well, facing out with his little
straddling you.
How would he be facing me? Either way, I'm not doing it, but you know what
I don't know if he was facing you like that lady did whenever they won at Big Night Out.
That's right.
You know.
yeah. No, I'm not. Nah.
Maybe Michael Cole straddling you.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
I don't think so. What, Tone?
Let's get out of here. Be a friend, tell a friend something nice might change your life. Tomorrow, even if you're not a wrestling fan, just know it's going to be absurd. Tomorrow's going to be a spectacle in of itself on our show. And then the greatest weekend in wrestling happens. And we're lucky as hell to be a part of it all. Be a friend, tell a friend something nice that might change your life. We're in this thing together. Team on me. Happy Mania weekend.
Hell yeah, boys. Here we go.
Team on 3. 1, 2, 3. Team. Goodbye.